Good morning, traders out there. Who's ready to see all-time highs? Yes, that's on alert as we go ahead and ride this wave higher. And of course, we'll talk about the hottest stocks on Wall Street. It seems like right now, this is the time to find the hot stocks. The trends are trading higher. There's some stocks that are getting short squeezes. We can take a look into the market, find these stocks, and if you guys got a stock that is making a big move, throw it up in the chat. I'll be looking to catch some of your comments. Like always, guys, hit the like button. You guys know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool. Excited to have another day here and looking to make a big trade in a small cap name. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we keep going. There's a lot going on out there. We got a lot to talk about. So let's kick things off. Let's take a look into the market overall and see what we're doing right now. We are pushing higher and looking like we want that all-time high. I think we're right there, guys, and we could be making that push today, and we'll see what happens. Expansion candles happening right now, and we're barely going back into yesterday's action. I think that's what you need to be looking at. Here you guys have it. I'll show you guys the chart here as we're seeing the SPY kind of just push higher and just continue the strength, right? So, of course, we've drawn the kind of this line here. If we undercut that, we'll start to be a little bit concerned. But other than that, right now, we are still in bullish mode above this 592 and looking to break the all-time high and get towards that level, right? Of course, we'll be looking to see if we can get towards that today and really push above that. When we get there, I think that's when we got to start being a little bit careful. But for right now, this is looking like breakout city. So look for stocks that are strong to continue strong. SMR, best trade of the day yesterday. I traded it actually twice, made over $600 twice on this name. Going to be looking at different names out there. The Q's just taking off here, guys, as they broke highs already and continuing higher. As I'm seeing out there, there's a lot of tech names that we got to keep an eye out for. NVIDIA, AMD pushing higher. These are the names that I like. We got to stay with them. Let's get to today's playbook to talk about more plays that you guys can be watching in the market. So like always, traders, hit the like button. You know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool, and let's get into this morning's playbook action. All right, guys, when we talk the playbook, of course, we're trying to look at stocks in different ways, right? We're trying to really combine the variables. Does it have story, fundamentals, technicals? What's going on with these plays? Let's take a look at the first one that I'll be watching today. And like always, traders, these are all trades for you guys to understand how you can come in the morning every single day and have a playlist, a playbook, right? So if you guys have a playbook and you guys want to, of course, tag us every single morning on stocks that you guys are watching, I'll be looking to catch those comments like always. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's talk more about the first play up here. And this is all to do with the next move that I expect. And with this being mentioned, I should bring in maybe a tweet by Dan Ives, but essentially he was on CNBC. Dan Ives, a tech analyst, one of the best at Wedbush. And he was talking about how software was going to be the next move for what's going on. So what is the stock that I'm watching now? I'm watching for CRM. Yes, CRM is going to be on the radar, looking for this to push back higher, back through the 275 and continue going. If you take a look here on the daily, we are now starting to bottom out here. I think this is a great level for weekly levels to kind of bounce off this bottoming area, right? We have the 257, 250 area holding really well. Now we could start to push back here through this trend line approach and really start to kick things off. I'm looking for a next move, which would be a move into this kind of 300 zone. So that's the next move up. I like CRM here. It's not a bad name to look at. Of course, it's starting to heat up as traders look for what's next in the AI theme. Software could be that next hot wave. A push above this 274 sets up a move towards the 200 daily moving average around the 283. If we get a dip to 270, that could be a clean swing entry. We'll see what happened positioning early before the crowd. We'll see if this really starts to take off there, guys. All right, traders, we got to keep battling out there. We'll see what's going on in the markets today. But like always, guys, stay safe out there, traders. It's not easy like always, and we're going to continue battling like always, trying to see what we can come up with and ready to make some money today. I don't know about you guys. I know I'm ready to make some money. Let's keep it going. Let's see what else we can get into today. All right, next one up I'm looking at is Bull. I talked about this one yesterday, and I showed you guys the setup, right? I said, let's wait. Let's make sure that we do this break above this range. first and then look for the setup to happen. Well, that was a break above 11. I talked about show me the move towards 11, and then I'm going to look for a pullback towards that 11. Today, we're at a 1184 already. So we saw how we broke 11. We went sideways on there. So maybe we start to use a prior resistance around the 1140s as support. I'll be looking for an undercut between 1150 and 11 to jump on the bull train as Webull starts a little bit of an up move. We'll see what happens with this one. Of course, Webull ripped crash and now looks like it's trying to stabilize. Fundamentals are finally catching up. Yesterday's $11 breakout we watched live might be the bigger shift here to kind of keep an eye out for. If you're looking for a stock that has a fresh leg, just made a nice break, well, here's one definitely on the radar. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to the next one here. We'll go to long AMAT. AMAT has been one stock that I've been talking about in this stream multiple times. Why? Because it's doing a long-term trendline approach, broke that trendline approach, and did a beautiful throwback look here on Friday, now really taking off. And this is exactly what you want to see when you see this type of move. That liquidity cut down, held that throwback look, and now really starting to push to the upside. It was a clean throwback move, and it also broke that long-term trend line, undercutting the 170 and powering through that 175 is exactly what you want to see. Another big thing is we've been hearing more and more about China export controls talks on the deal. If for any reason the U.S. takes a step back on that export control, these stocks could be ripping higher. Of course, AMAT's not the only one that's been going up higher. You can see it in LRCX and different names. ASML is another one that I like. And look how these names have been really pushing strong. So semiconductor equipment stocks, definitely a hot area to keep an eye out for. Some of the hottest stocks in the market, of course, smash the like. It's good to see you guys in the chat. Good morning to you guys out there. Top of the morning indeed. If you guys have a stock that you guys are watching this morning, smash it up. AI and software is the way. Definitely keep your eyes on those. Oracle has been another one that's been leading in that space, right? So you continue to watch this to see what happens. Look how Oracle is on a takeoff mood. This one, I think, is really kind of doing a rocket style move, and you got to try to catch this on a 9 EMA pullback or catch names that are starting to do a move like this, right? So everyone's watching AI and software. Don't be one of those people that catch this move really late. How do you stay with themes? Well, you stay right here on Trade the Pool, of course. Money Mitch has the eyes open for you guys, always looking for themes, always looking for industry-wide moves, and looking for the drip down effect, right? There's always a leaders to laggard. In this case, the leader is definitely Oracle right now, but we can look for some laggard style trading. We've already seen some of the cybersecurity names take a big leap. Now we can keep an eye out on different ones out there and try to ride that momentum. Right? It's not looking too bad at all. I'll be looking at Salesforce. You can look at ServiceNow as an expensive stock that could go higher in software, but it's not just these names, right? There's so many names in software that could be pushing higher. I'd keep an eye out on some RSIs to try to catch some of these names. Of course, you're looking for some big names, right? Look how you're starting to see certain names really start to show up. And that's what I'd be looking at. Like even this sports radar has just been taking off here, guys. And I had Genie for so long, and I think Genie's going to even start to play a little catch up. So who knows? Maybe I day trade Genie a little bit. We'll see what happens. Software, definitely the place to look at. All right, getting out of that conversation, we could definitely catch up with some other ones. Good morning out there. How you doing out there, traders? What's going on? Mitch, a question. Was the war a catalyst for new all-time highs? And I think that the market was already wanting new time highs, Chase. And so with this case, I think at the end of the day, we're all on this kind of just irrational exuberance higher, right? Because really, there's a lot of worrying in the market, a lot of worrying about what's going on in the jobs number and things like this. But sometimes, and it's important to understand in trading especially, is that the irrational thing could happen, not the logical thing. A lot of people think war is a scary thing, right? And nuclear war, and this could disrupt and create higher inflation. We should be going down. No, the opposite. We're actually getting that rip higher. I think we're just trying to make a new all-time highs because that was the bet that was placed down here. It wasn't the bet that was placed up here. No, if anything, they've been trying to knock it down up here. A lot of shorts been trying to get opened up in this area and running into what? Just getting squeezed and squeezed. So now we got to look for what we call bear exhaustion, right? So we got a bullish exhaustion. We got bearish exhaustion when we were down here, where we capitulated down there. Now we got to look for this style of action. You see how this pushed really fast? We got to look for that up here. Where could that lead us to? Who knows? Maybe we go to like 646 before we start to crash back down, right? And so it doesn't mean that we're going to stop right here at all-time highs either. We can push further. And I think that this market is going to try to really stuff the bears first before it stuffs the bulls. And the bulls are riding high right now. So the key, we can still make money on this push to all-time highs. Let's keep going. We'll take a look around out there. Roger, good morning to you. How we doing out there? And if you guys got a question or anything you're looking at, let me know. What scanner do you use for day trading? Well, Roger, I use a ton of different action out there, right? I use, of course, our platform, Trader Evolution. I use TC2000, which is the charting service you see here. And this is why you see kind of all this action and this scanning stuff. This is not necessarily, these are more like, this is a watch list. This is the big watch list I have. And then this is sector, industries, and stocks. So if I go to, let's say, technology, I can tell you that today I'm looking for what's leading up. I can see electronic gaming and multimedia really kicking off and really pushing strong. So we could look at some of these names, and then I look at stocks, right? Then I can see that Roblox has been just completely on a rocket ride higher. Take Two looking good here. EA pushing higher, right? And so this is how we work backwards, not forward. Very important. It's one of the number one things that I talk about. Understanding sectors and industries can lead you to really great stocks. All right, let's keep going. We'll talk about some more action out there. Smash the like. You guys know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool. We'll keep it going. We're going to the Sunrise Report next, where we talk about what stocks are moving this morning and why they're moving. Like always out there, traders, smash the like. It's good to be with you guys this morning. We're going to keep it going. We're going to push that next level and see what we can come up with. All right, traders, let's go ahead. Let's move over now to, of course, the Sunrise Report. What's going on out there, guys? Feels a bit complex. Can you quickly show the trades? Yeah. So stick around. This is what I would say. If you're learning how to use the platform and you don't know, well, we have a playlist that I would first go to. I'm going to give you that playlist in just a second here after I do the Sunrise Report. I got to, go in the background and actually pull it for you. But we have a playlist, and we also have, of course, our Netflix style playlist on our website. So if you haven't checked that out, I'm going to show you that too. These are all places where you can learn the basics of the platform, like order entry, how to set things on the charts, things like that. I do set those things up during the show. So I will take some time to show you some different chart trading, order entry, where my order is, and all the information that I give about my trading right here, fully transparent, 100%. So stick around. We got a lot to talk about. All right, let's get over to, of course, the Sunrise Report and talk about what stocks are moving in the market and why they're moving. Let's get to it in this morning's Sunrise Report. All right, first up, traders, of course, we could take a look at the overall market. The market was at least a little bit flat, but then started to push to the upside. So that thing's looking a lot better. But it's all about the S&P 500 within the 1% of the all-time high after Tuesday's strong rally powered by falling oil prices and easing Middle East tensions. NASDAQ 100 closed at a record high, gaining about 1.5% as crude oil extended its decline, and WTI down about 6%. Tuesday, helping calm inflation fears and boost broader sentiment. We'll see what happens here as the market is pricing in optimistic that the Iran and Israel ceasefire, brokered and reiterated by President Trump. I don't know why it said former president. Man, ChatGPT did not count you as President Trump, but will fragile investors appear willing to move past it now? These are all things that we got to be talking about, guys. We can take a look at what's going on there. Let's go to some stock specific action here. Let's go taking a look first at Sunrun getting a price target cut from $10 now, from $8. It was cut from $10 to $8. Sorry, the way that they wrote it was a little weird there. But you can see how it's trying to fill the gap. This tried to fill the gap last time and kind of ran into a wall. We'll see what happens. I'll tell you one thing. I'm staying the hell away from solar stocks during this environment. It's nothing that I want to have. And Trump hates solar. So I want nothing to do with it. All right, we'll see what happens on there. And of course, one of the mentions in the note of that Wells Fargo trimming Sunrun is that it has uncertainties tied to Trump's proposals, of course. Trump is on the headlines, but what about Tesla? Tesla is definitely on the headlines as a little bit of a mixed noise. And I'm actually looking at potentially trading it right now. I'm looking for an entry below 1379 on TSLL, but we'll see what happens. Tesla is back and forth right here. European sales were down big, 27.9% year over year in May, the fifth straight monthly decline. But the robo-taxi, and that's what came out. That's what gave the push. And then the drop yesterday, as we were keeping an eye on what happened with the NHTSA probe after viral clips, of course, showed erratic driving behavior for the robotaxi. We'll see what happened. Despite concerns, shares are up this morning and we're climbing. We'll see if that climbing can continue. Of course, let's go over now to FedEx, what some people call a good reader of the market, right? And so let's take a look at how this stock is performing and what's going on with it, right? Well, it's been on a huge pullback, right? As of late, since 2025, we've been big pullback in this name. Let's see if this can actually shake the action. Adjusted EPS came in here at 607 versus a 584 estimate. Revenues at 22.2 billion versus a 21.79 billion estimate. So not bad action there on the chart of FedEx. You can take a look here and you can see how it's been down. It's trying to bounce back. Needs some action there to get the real bounce back. We'll see what happens with this as FedEx tries to get back there. The U.S. package volume was up 6% year over year, yet it's not making the money that it needs here to keep things going. The adjusted EPS was good, but it just seems like it can't get going here. And it announced a $1 billion more in cuts for fiscal 2026. Despite the beat, the stocks is falling. It's due to a soft Q1 earnings guidance. So it just goes to show you that these stocks are not doing well, and I don't expect it turning around anytime soon. One of the things that would be a good indicator to watch today is if UPS takes off to the upside. If that happens, then yeah, you can maybe trade FedEx with it, right? But what I'd be looking for is to see if this eventually breaks down towards the 90, because UPS has been struggling, and it's been struggling ever since it did that deal. And you can see it. It's been a straight trend line down. Every time it comes back up, it gets hit eventually and takes the next leg down like it did here, right? Came back up, got hit, boom, right back down. We'll see what happens there in UPS and other names. All right, let's keep going. Let's go, of course. Let's move over to a little bit of some Visa and MasterCard look. These stocks are moving, of course, with all the kind of the stable coin talk and all that action. They pulled back fast here, but now are starting to catch a little bit of a bid. We'll see what happens with Visa and MasterCard. Wells Fargo reiterated their overweight position, so they feel it will be able to bounce back. We'll see what happens with that one. Not feeling too confident about these, but you could take a look at what X, Y, and Z. Block, right, to see how Block is performing. Block is trying to turn back to the upside. I think this is one that we keep an eye out for, guys. Instead of looking for MasterCard and Visa to continue beating and doing well, why not look for a breakout in Square above this 66.46 level today? I don't mind this at all, guys. So I'm going to put 66.50s and look for that to break above. If that happens, I'll set an alert and I'll let you guys know during the show. We'll see what happens there in Block. And with that mentioned, why not SoFi? SoFi is starting to get strong again. This looks good here. Nice little break of 15 yesterday. We're to 16. Are we going to go and take out the highs here at 19? I think we're looking good in SoFi, guys. So keep your eyes on SoFi as another stock that is getting strong in a nice space. Everyone's starting to talk a little bit more about blockchain and SoFi. is not looking too bad here. We'll see if it can continue through the 1609. All right, guys, we'll see what happens there in SoFi. Not a bad little setup there. I'll keep an eye out on it. That's for sure. All right, we'll be watching around to see what other names are making a move up as we'll look for maybe Ethereum move higher, right? I talked about this yesterday of how it could start to come back there, and it did a nice little move. Now pulled back a little bit, giving an opportunity. We'll have to keep an eye out to see what happens in some of the Bitcoin names. All right, we'll see what happens on another one, and we'll see what other names we can make some cash on today. We'll be looking around, guys. I'm going to be trying to take some big trades, and like always, keep getting after it. Definitely, I know that you guys wanted to know a little bit more about the platform, so I'm pulling that up action right now so that I can get you guys some playlist here so that you guys can go ahead and kind of get up to date on the platform. Here it is. Let me go ahead and share this with you guys. All right, so here's for platform tutorials here. I know that I got the question, so like always, guys, trying to help you guys out. Here's a playlist that we have specifically on tutorials for our platform. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me, at least to start. Let's go ahead and kick off the real part of this show where we get to the trading action. Let's go ahead, sound that alarm. Let's bring on Michael Noss. Let's go ahead and start that countdown and see what we can come up with today. Wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What up, traders? Let's go ahead. Let's bring on Michael Noss. What's going on, man? How we doing?
How do you think I'm doing? New all-time highs on the Qs. Everything is fantastic.
Everything's fantastic. You heard it here. You heard it here, guys. Just don't turn on the news.
Doesn't help you at all.
I got you. Don't turn it on.
I've never heard one person say, hey, I'm real rich because I watch the news. Doesn't happen.
We'll see, guys, what happens after all-time highs. That's the real question, because I don't think this is stopping. I think I even heard some traders. I was like, man, it's a little tough time to try to open up shorts right now. I think this is the actual opposite time to be opening up bigger short swings. Even trust me, I feel it, right? Like we saw Circle start to come down, right? And some traders are like, well, now's the time. Come after it, right? Well, I think that, you might be doing this wrong, right? I can't blame you for looking at different stocks like this, but at some point, this could just rip right back up to 300 in an instant. That's why CoreWeave, I'm still waiting here. I'm still waiting to see the short time frame, the short-term moving averages actually break down, not trying to jump ahead of it myself and short a stock, short a rocket, right? That's just not the way to do it. I'm going to be waiting till I see that first real action that we get the pullback. Then we can come into it. Remember, we don't need to get the top if it's a rocket. That's the way I think, right? If it's a rocket, you don't need to get the exact top, because when it comes down, it should be an elevator move down. We talk about these, right? So I think you stay patient right now. Even if you're thinking in the short game, right? Even if you think that, like this is setting up for shorts, I think you being a little bit patient right now might be the move, especially when we're having the dash for trash. And I started to see so many stocks short squeezing yesterday, just different stocks moving out there, whether it be like a QuantumScape or a BBAI, right? I mean, we're just getting some squeezes out there, right? And so we got to ride the party. Ride the wave for as long as it can be there, right? Let's go over now to Michael Noss's look into the market. We'll take a look at different stocks and trades that he's watching in there. And you guys in the chat, let me know what you guys are watching out there. What's the trade that you got up your sleeve? And, of course, we'll be taking a look at different action here. We'll see what type of stocks we can find out there. And there's a lot going on. I mean, coin now 362, man. Oh, boy. Where did you get that flag pattern? Man, that flag. That was a beauty. 41% now. 41%.
Well, and that's what we got to keep in mind, that crypto, if it's going to catch up to hit all-time highs, still has a lot of room to go. That's going to
A
be
lot of room to go, right? That's why I'm
bullish, right?
watching. I think even the miners are play here. They were ripping. They were ripping, guys. They were just straight up action yesterday. So I think, we could play, maybe some Bido here, looking for a trend line break, right? I have this trend line drawn for a reason. It's a long-term trend line. Are we going to make that approach? One thing that I like is what do we see on this chart? The liquidity move, man. This candle is one of the most important candles right now. I'm seeing it in too many charts where it was this quick dip, right?
And then you saw that right at I'm not presenting. Right at crypto itself, and that's the big thing that I was talking about here yesterday.
Yeah.
Is, it's better if you can. It's better to look at the actual underlying instrument. And yeah, it did that. This was when the U.S. got involved in the war, and all the people who didn't study history said this is a bad thing. Sweeped these lows right here, and then just ripped. So that's why I think this might be a slingshot to more highs. But really, I was going through all the stocks that made new all-time highs yesterday.
Yeah,
and
it was an interesting list, right?
Yeah, people would say, "Oh, well, this is just a tech-driven, blah blah blah." The same thing the bears always say. But J.P. Morgan, right? Oops.
Yeah.
J.P. Morgan, not a tech company, and you can see now making new highs here. Nice little breakout on JP Morgan. So we're seeing financials being very close to their all-time highs, right? That's an amazingly bullish thing for the overall market, right? You want to see that. You want to see, all-time highs in financials, because you need the banks still in the money, and then they do all that kind of stuff. AI is a cool ETF. So this is brokers and dealers and securities and exchanges. So all of your stockbrokers, all that kind of stuff. So think, right, Interactive Brokers and Fidelity and all these kind of companies. And then the exchanges are obviously CME, NASDAQ, NYSE, all that. Massive new breakout to all-time highs. The Freedom Index, which is one that I like to follow, which is just basically a big basket of first world type countries, new all-time highs. So a lot of non-tech things making new all-time highs, and semiconductors still haven't broken their 52-week high yet. So, just anyone who says, hey, this is AI that's running, they're not paying attention. So that I love. And then IBM making new high. I kind of forgot this thing existed. It's the reason for it. So look at 2017 all the way to 2025, did just nothing here.
I still remember. I mean, I know that some people don't remember this probably, but I know I was banging the table on the monthly 150 break. And this is a monthly chart. This is a chart that you don't even look at the daily. Look at the monthly on IBM, and it is just as pretty as it gets, man. It's the monthly chart on the stock like this. When stocks stay around for so long, start using that monthly chart, right? Because that's going to give you the levels to really look for that range break, right? Look how this stock, when it does range break, it goes. You can see it in the monthly when it does range break. So you got to wait for that range to break and then try to ride the momentum higher. And if you look on this stock, the monthly, and I use an EMA, right? So the 9 is riding right on the tail. And we just got that undercut there in April, where it undercut that 250. It went really far down there, right? Because of course, the market coming down. But then the next candle closes right back above the 9, showing you that strength and how really we're just starting to get this 250 push. And now you're pushing off that 250. This thing could keep going. IBM could keep riding up. And of course, we all know they're the original AI. The original Watson, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, it's again, just going through the list, it was just shocking because it wasn't, there was some, like Rocket Lab and things like that, right? That makes sense. They're newer companies, but to see these older, established, right? Nothing to do with, AI, nothing to do with any of this crazy stuff like JP Morgan making new all-time highs. I thought that was super cool. that we saw that, right? And like XLI, so your industrials, nice breakout there, new all-time closing high anyway. Didn't quite break these prior highs, but new all-time closing highs in industrials. And it's good. And I think this is, again, like I talked about this when the market got back to even, but now that the market's back at all-time highs, this is the time to kind of sit down with your swing portfolio, right? We're different for day trading, but swing trading and investing, and go, did I panic at the lows, right? Was I with most of retail who bought more at the lows? Did I, spend too much time reading the news and not looking at charts? Like these are the times to do this kind of retrospective, because there's going to be another one at some point. We've had 5 bear markets in the last 5 years. Hopefully we don't average one a year like we've been doing, but there's going to be more of these. And if you're not preparing now for what that next bear market's going to look like, and what you're going to do in that next bear market, you're doing yourself, I think, a complete disservice. Because I just know so many people who on the markets just kind of got scared and they puked out on the low, and then they're saying, okay, I'm going to wait for a pullback to get in. And of course, as soon as everybody's looking for a pullback to get in, you don't get a pullback, right? So there's been
That's just the way it goes, right? We'll see if it can keep going. I mean, at the end of the day, markets continue going higher. It's always about how you want to play these market corrections, right? And I think that the idea there is, at the end of the day, you always got to call a shot. And I think that most people have a problem risk on when most people are risk off. So these are the things that you need to be thinking about. How can I be risk on when everybody else is risk off, right? And so with that mentality, how can you go about that, right? And what are some strategies that you can use in those moments, right? And like Michael says, it's important to think about this now, not when the stocks are down there. Because when it's down there, the emotions will hit. They hit everybody. We're not robots. Exactly. And we're going to feel it, right? And so it's important to understand what you're going to do in those times. I've actually been talking about it, and I think it's important it's not maybe this show, but more investment conversations. Those are the moments. So, and I've seen this just in my time. I'm sure you've seen it too, Michael. It's just waiting for those moments and then investing. Because at the end of the day, if you can get a 20% discount on pricing, right, on some of the best companies in the world, we take those moments to invest, right? And it's not for, just literally look at the charts, right? I'm not saying that I've done it the best, but I'm saying more along, we take these opportunities, we sit with cash, right, as investors, and we use cash, not necessarily on like what I see majority of people do, where it's like every 2 weeks, it just buys the SPY, wherever the hell it is. I don't like those approaches. I'm personally super against just randomly buying. I would just rather, you only buy on corrections or bear markets. Give me a 10% pullback, I'm gonna start buying a little bit. Give me 20%, I'm gonna start buying a little bit. Give me 40%, I'm gonna start buying a little bit.
I'm totally fine with people that were buying, because you think about it, if you were buying the whole way up here, the whole time you were underwater for maybe a second, right? The whole time. And if you had just waited, you would have had to nail the exact low to get the same average price of the guy who was buying on the way up. So now what I like to do is I like to buy more when it's down, right?
Yeah.
Put in, this is the amount. Like, not only did I max out my entire account kind of in this area right there, I went to my bank and I took out a big fat line of credit and I threw that in too. And I'm planning on paying that back fairly soon. But yeah, those are the times that you have to get aggressive, is when the news is trying to scare you, when, right, people who are not your friends are telling you that it's the end of the world, you have to worry about everything. It's the opposite, right? So I end up making a really good percentage on my net worth, because I was able to go in and say, okay, not only do I want to take everything I have and start really leveraging up my trades on margin, but I want to go get more money and borrow it from the bank and put that in, knowing that I could, service the debt for 5 years if I absolutely had to, right? Nothing crazy, not leveraging my house or anything, but just saying, hey, I think everybody is panicking, therefore I want to be buying. And yeah, now that it's hitting new all-time highs, I'm going to pare back some of those positions and pay back that line of credit and close it back down. And I just know I'm going to do it next time, because I traded through 2008, right? my biggest mistake ever in investing is not getting insanely deep into debt in 2008, because I was only 20, I think, at the time. Maybe even less, maybe like 19, 18. And I took everything I had, which obviously wasn't very much, and I threw it into the market in 2008, because the idea of the world's going to end or I need to buy stock. So if I had more then, if I should have went out and gotten a big fat line of credit and threw that into the market too. So yeah, you have to pick these moments. And again, don't do anything dumb. Like if the market continued to go down, I would just pay the interest on the line of credit for a while. But you got to pick these moments, because eventually you're just going to have this. And then you're going to have all the perma bears as you just drift higher to say, oh, just wait, we're coming back down. Oh, just wait, we're coming back down. And then eventually we do come back down, but we never get anywhere near here, right? So yes, there's always a bear market, and that's always rough. But generally speaking, each bear market, this is the last bear market, it got nowhere near 2020's high, right? And then there's this bear market, and it got nowhere near this high. So each bear market is generally a higher high, and that's just because if you believe in capitalism, you have to be bullish the market. And if you're a communist, you should.
Well, the market's rigged to the upside, guys. I'll just tell you what it is. It's rigged to the upside. I don't care what anybody says. It's rigged to the upside.
It's rigged because companies are good at making money. And if companies make money, the market will go up. And if companies don't make money, the market goes down.
I don't see it like that. Because the thing is, it has nothing to do with fundamentals of why we're back up. At least I don't see it as that. It has to do with a confluence.
Make a record profit this year, because I think Nvidia made record profits, which is a large component. I think Broadcom made record profits. I think
Apple's down pretty big.
Apple's down, and it didn't make record profits.
Right.
JP Morgan at all-time highs made record profits each year. If you chart out earnings growth over time and you chart that out with the market in the long run, it is a 1-to-1 correlation. If companies make more money, the market goes up, and if companies don't make more money, the comes down. I'll see if I can find that chart, but it's actually a really good chart to look at to show that bear markets happen when companies don't make money, right? Or when people are worried that companies don't make money.
Yeah, I view it as just at the end of the day, the market goes up. Whether you want to be mad about it or not, the market goes up. We can always find reasons, right? And we're always going to find reasons, right? That's what a narrative does, right? And that's why you see people talking on TV. They're always going to find a reason. I say at the end of the day, there's only one reason that matters. That's price, right? And that's the simple fact. Just look at price. Price leads. Price tells you where things are going, right? And
this is
I think
an older
sometimes
chart,
we compete on it.
This demonstrates well. This is an older chart. This is 1992 to 2018, right? And your red line is the price of the market, and your blue line is company earnings. So, right, if companies make more money, if capitalism works, the market goes up over time. And if companies make more money, or you can see the times that the market didn't go up, is when companies weren't making more money over time. So if you believe that the people that run Apple and Nvidia and all these things are smart and they'll figure out how to make more money, then the market will go up over time, right?
You got it. All right, guys, let's go take a look at some setups for the market here. I'm looking at one right now on TSLL.
Oh, the Teslas.
It started to bounce back yesterday. Nice kind of day where you pulled back off the highs. You came back. You didn't cut the bullish engulfing candle look on TSLL. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Can you come back into the space? Even 1320s could happen on the pullback. But as long as that's holding, I feel like this is still a good looking chart.
Tagged VWAP just right to the tick there and then bounce. That feels a little programmatic there, right?
100%. That's why I'm looking at that exact level, right? Like I'm not even viewing it as the VWAP. I'm just viewing it as I can see it. It's a good spot here to drive it off through the 14, right? Because when you drive this back through the 14, what do you start to make this look like? You start making this look like what I talk about all the time. Look for trend line approaches, not necessarily trend line breaks. I need to start talking about these more, like to trade them to the trend line versus looking for the continuation, right? I feel like a lot of traders look for trend lines and they look for trend line breaks instead of the trend line approach. What I mean by approach, you draw a trend line, you see where it would kind of level up. It's not going to give you an exact area, but it gives you a target area, right? Like this stock could easily make another touch up here and build more of the flag pattern. So what would that be like in like TSLL? I'll show you guys that right here, right? That's this line here. So you just go back to like yesterday's action. I'm drawing the flag, the trend line off of that action, right? And then this just gives me an approach look. So the reward could be up to like, let's say 1430s, 1450s, right? Then that gives me what? An ability to measure risk and return, right? Am I trying to make what 66 cents on the upside? How much can I risk on the downside? Those are the types of things that matter. And I think that trading it to that line sometimes is a really good way of making the money. And then traders look for expansion away. And sometimes they're not getting that. They're getting the touch and the move right back down to 14, right? So we'll look to see if we can get that rip towards it, sell it. Then as it pulls back, rebuy it and sell to the next rip. That's where I've been doing a little bit better of. The same thing I did with SMR yesterday. I sold the rip, then bought the dip again, and then redid the same trade almost essentially in SMR yesterday, getting this rip out, buying the dip back, and selling the rip back through 42. So I'm going to look to continue to do that strategy a little bit more. So we'll look to see if we can find that. Coming to you, my friend, what do you got to set up for us today?
I've got 2 trades on already just from
right.
the setup. So NKTR, this is just one of these crazy high flyers yesterday, gapping up a little bit today. You can see the blue arrow there. So short in that, and a little short in bull, just because it's looks like this gap might be just a little bit too done. Again, just looking to fade some of these gaps. Some other ones are just pretty much everything's gapping up. ASTS, I certainly missed. I had this on the list right in this candle, but did not get a fill there. And just NVTS is another one, right? Just these high flyers looking like they could come back down. QuantumScape, you mentioned this earlier, right? Junky stock up pretty big in the pre-market. So just going to see if that gap fades.
It's actually not as junky as you may think. I've done my research in this company, man. If they get things right, they're going to come back. I think they might pass that wick on the daily. This is a SPAC. Why do I think so? It's very important. Toyota support. Toyota's all over this company, and they want to own it. That's what I think. They want to own this company. So what they're waiting for is for them to figure things out. And they just released news that they just did like a breakthrough. So I'd continue to watch this. This is solid state batteries, which is the exact focus that Toyota is trying to do and accomplish. And if they do that, I'll tell you right now, everyone will start switching to more solid state batteries. And if that happens, they're first, right? So I'm watching them as a long-term bet here, but you can still ride the trend on the wave higher, and definitely high short interest could just keep pushing, right? We'll see what happens. QuantumScape.
Yeah. And then Hood looking for the same thing. I think what HODL is that the
HODL.
There's a 2x Robinhood somewhere I'll take a look at. But yeah, same thing again. Long term, these companies look amazing. They are probably going to continue to rip higher. But the strategy is to fade gaps that look a little overextended, and that's one that looks a little overextended. So, and yeah, this is a good point too with the 6 month on technically Monday, but Friday I think you're going to see a lot of games and shenanigans because it's the end of the month. And we know, I've been saying it the whole way up, they're not positioned well enough. So it's every 6 months, generally every quarter is when big institutions have to send all their investors their financial statements. And if they're not long enough, they're going to get scolded, right? They're going to say, listen, the market hit new all-time highs. You didn't. So generally speaking, what you find is just a lot of like rebalancing of things, right? So, sell XYZ company that's underperforming, buy this. They call it window dressing because it's like, you better own Robinhood. You better own Netflix. You better own these companies that are making new all-time highs. So when you go to investors, you can say, yes, we underperformed last quarter, but we have them now. Don't worry. We've got these big names now. So sometimes you see this kind of selling the junk, right? They don't want to show the investors that they hold this company that's down and then flip them as well, right? So,
yep. Happens all the time, guys. We'll see what happens. End of the month coming up faster than you know it, guys. We'll be in July. And then, of course, July is a tough first week with July 4th, right? On Friday. So shortened week, right?
July 1st is the real holiday. It's our holiday. Canada, good old Canada Day.
I don't know what that is. They don't teach us Canadian history in America. So
Same thing as yours. We just asked nicely to we just asked nicely to leave. Right? You guys had a whole big thing. We just go, you know what? We're kind of done. Can we be our own thing?
yeah,
Like,
we just
okay.
we just killed our own and just kept going.
Yeah, we did it the Canadian way. We said please and thank you, and all we needed.
What's up, Steph out there? How we doing out there, guys? It's good to see you guys in the chat. I'm seeing more of you guys in the chat showing up, and that's what I love to see, guys. What are you guys looking at out there? What are you guys
Wow.
trading?
100% win rate in ULY, and
there you go.
Ooh, that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually watching ULY for the break to the upside here out the gates. We'll see if that kind of gets going. I think this is one that could really get going. There's a reason why the daily chart is there for it. There's a daily level in May 1st that got out to 18 on this. So what I look for in stocks like this, do on a daily chart, can you show me when it made a day 2, day 3 style move, not just a 1 day pop and drop? And that's exactly what you're seeing there, right? It's not like it did a 2-3 day move, right? And so I'll look for that style move here, pull back and then a rip out the gates. The key here, traders have been trading this and looking for it. Of course, I got 14. It's all about risk to return in this case. If we get back to 14, what are we talking about? We're talking about 59% higher, right? So what do you got to do? You just got to understand your risk, right? What's your risk here? How much you're willing to risk? We'll see what happens. ULY.
Are they what, YOLOing Fartcoin or something?
Yeah. And then it's also another thing to do is, Steph, if you're noticing that you've had such a great morning, it is more than okay to just call the day. That's where I think a lot of traders sometimes they say, well, now that I have this great money, I'm going to go use it and push on. Remember that it's all about what you play. If your play is to play these early, get your money and get out, what are you doing trading if you got your money?
I know even I had a great conversation with a very successful systematic trader. Guy makes like seven figures a year, systematic trading. And what he started to do a while ago is just that, target a P&L number, which seems really, really weird for systematic trading. But he went back and he was able to prove that if he had liquidated everything and shut off the bots at a P&L number over the last, I think he said year, he would have done even better. So yeah, so always, keep that in mind. It's not something you expect from systematic traders. You just have robots, you turn them on, you let them trade all day. But he had just noticed, he had tracked like what the height of his P&L was every day over the last year, and if he had just stopped just then, he would have missed some really wicked days, but net it ended up making money. So yeah, it was really interesting. It's one of those things that naturally we say, oh, we should just continue to trade as long as we have edge. But at least this guy, he went through his data and said, it's doesn't make sense for me to start trading or continue to put on risk past this point. That's the way you always got to look at it is, do I want to put on risk, not do I want to trade? Because do I want to trade is a question that some people just have fun trading, so they want to trade. The question is, right, do you want to put on risk? That's what you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, another thing is asking yourself, how much are you willing to give up now that I'm going to take to trade, right? And that's another thing I think some traders don't do. They don't ask themselves that question, right? All right, we'll see what happens out there, guys. Let's keep trading. I'm taking a little bit in TSLL here already, just starting it up here, looking for the breakout out the gates here through the 14. We'll see what happens. Swing trade on there. But of course, it might just turn into a day trade. I've been turning these more into a day trade. And we'll see. Eventually, I think when I get the funded account and the swing, then I'll start holding these a little bit longer. But for right now, I'm just trying to almost take the same approach that I'm going to do in the funded account, but just cashing when I get it, right? Just cashing a little bit earlier.
I also think there's something to be said for that, for getting a swing trading count and just completely taking time out of the equation and saying, I am looking for this stock to get to this price. If that happens in a day, great. If it happens in a week, great. If it happens in whatever, and just trying to like get the concept of time and closes and all of that just completely off the table. So I don't see anything wrong. And I think it's probably actually a fine idea for people just to go, I'm going to buy the swing trading account and intend to day trade, and then periodically, say you get a really good winner or something like that, turn that into a swing trade. I think is totally an interesting way to do it. Or just, again, ignore time. Say, I'm going to buy this. I like it at 14. I think it's going to go to 15. I'm going to stop out at 13, and just putting out those orders. And just, if it happens today, great. If it happens 6 months from now, fine. Right? It's one of those things going to happen first. I'm just going to set my trade and walk away.
Yeah, what I started noticing too is that I kept getting these overnight swings where I'd get up, like, let's say 300, 400, right? And it was a decent amount of gain. But what I ended up doing in a lot of these was trying to, I think, add more in the sizing thing. And then what was happening is the amount of money that I have, I almost need to like line into one position or two position. If I had a little bit more, I maybe would kind of diversify play in the swings. I personally like to almost position trade in swing, where I have, like, let's say 5 or 6 positions, and then I'm just trying to cut the one that isn't working, ride the one that's working, right? But in this mentality, I just feel like the amount of money that I've been getting is just not enough for what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to get the funded account fast, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep taking swings, trying to take the fast cash there. If it works, it works. It's got to be over the amount, right? It's definitely more gas pedal, but there's gas pedal also on the risk side as I increase share size, right? So I got to understand that and just adjust, right? Like yesterday, we made over 600 on 2 trades. I'm going to keep trying to adjust to that, maybe around 150 risk, 200 of risk, pushing for those $500 to $600 winners. We'll see what happens. Let's keep pushing.
Yeah, so just marking the SPY here is we're about a minute to the open, right? Pretty tight pre-market range. So we've got the pre-market high up here. The pre-market or post-market low is way, way down here. So long way to go if we want to test that. And then again, the exact price is 613.23. So I'm actually just going to put that in at 613.23 and set a 24 because that will be a new all-time high, and set that in just to see, because that's going to be another interesting price. It could be some games around that, or we could just like blow right through. A little bit to go, but let's see. So gapping off the open. Let's see what's going to happen here right off the bat. If we're going to do a little bit of a fade or a push up. Nothing really going on that we care about today. Get this out of the way. Some more Fed nonsense. But what do you do in that case, right? You just chat. Yap.
Market's open. Let's get after it, traders. Let's see what we can come up with today, guys. Looking out the gates, TEM leading the action. That's not a bad looking name. $70 recovery. QUBT, Archer going higher. Pony looking good. Rigetti out the gates, pushing strong. GEV, QUBT, AEVA down there. We'll keep looking at to see what else is leading the market there on my watch list. But QUBT and Tempest, really good moves out the gates here.
Yeah, just watching the SPY there. Right, the first tick was right through the post market, so we need to see what's going to happen here potentially on was that a rejection, or are we just farting around that area, right? Because nice little push and then a reversal there right off the bat.
I get stopped out in Tesla here. We'll see if it cuts the 1350s here. It did drop fast out the gates here. There you go, cut out there, guys. We'll look to see if I come back in it. Took the hit there. Like I mentioned, I was going to take closer hits towards the 100. Took the 96 there. And we'll keep trading. Let's go.
Just have this up for a second. I will talk about these strategies at some point for sure. I am just continuing to test them with different systems here. Just keep a close eye on the SPY here off the bat. So far, that's a little bit of a rejection of the pre-market high break. So let's see how this candle closes in a few minutes, and if we start to challenge the low of that candle, because that could be just a little tiny liquidity grab there that we got to keep an eye on. There's QuantumScape and Hood to the short side. Yeah, that Robinhood I'm going to keep an eye on. Quantum Escape, it doesn't look like there's enough risk reward for me because it's
Tried to get into TEM there. Wasn't able to get a 70 fill. Had an order out there, no fill.
80. Ooh, that's a big risk reward there. So that's good. So I'm looking at Hood just to see. I want to see if it rejects here just a little bit, but you can see the blue arrow happen on Hood after a nice little gap up, and this thing has just been ripping. So just trying to see if we fade down to the 2-day view app. If I end up entering the trade, I just like it because it's such a good risk reward setup. It's going to be what, probably 2 or 3.
ARM pushing higher. That one is a nice move out the gates here. UMAC now pushing. RCAT pushing. So maybe a little bit of a drone day. I saw Archer pushing earlier.
SPY is actually reversing just a little bit here. Yeah, so a little bit of reverse off the open there for the SPY. So we have to pay attention there just to see if that ends up materializing. We do have, of course, JPOW yapping. So like we talked about yesterday, there was a bit of that kind of dip and rip.
TEM.
While we
long TEM here, guys. I'll show you guys that trade here, long TEM on the swing account. Let's go ahead. Let's see what we can do here. Off the 70, looking for the 70 recovery back up towards the high, 71.32s. Could go back to 71.50s. Got about 200 shares here. Let's see if this can go right back up through that 71.20s.
SPY is challenging the low of the day after trying to reverse there. So we have to keep a close eye there. Again, if we break that low, that could be an interesting one. Because we did do that liquidity grab, could be potential liquidity grab, I guess, at those prior highs. So
AMAT doing well there. I've been talking about that one for a while now. Looking really good on AMAT. Looking around out there. KLAC also kind of leading the up action. It dipped down to 880s. Look at that wick recovery. What a move there in KLAC.
Yeah, we're just continuing to chop here on the
TEM. Let's go, TEM.
On the market. We challenged, again, we broke that pre-market high just briefly and then failed, and then looked like we were going to break at least that pre-market base, and we failed there, and now we're on our way back up. So very, very range bound and just a tight opening range so far. So we got to pay attention to that, because generally speaking, if the opening range gets super tight, when you get that break, it can be explosive in either direction.
All right, getting a good first reaction here in TEM. Trying to add here, guys. It's starting to rip to the upside. We're looking good here. Now we're going to the 71s here. We'll look for a break above the 71 here. Add out there at 70 30s. I'm actually going to pull it back to like 25s here for a pullback add if I do get it. 70 20s are out there sitting. 70 75 sitting here on the offer, looking good, up about 132. Looking for the break above this to start getting into the 200 or 300s. If I do get a nice little 300 little breakout, I can just sell the rip. Let's keep trading. Let's go.
Yeah, my alerts and everything are pretty barren. I did end up taking that hood to the short side, so that's just saw another red candle going in there. It looks like it might take me out here pretty quickly, but that's what we want to see. If you're wrong, I want to get taken out quick. Get that buying power back for something else. SPY just chop.
Tech, I agree with you on a lot of the Tesla conversation there. The one that I don't agree is the fighting. I feel like there's too many people talking about how, well, these companies have competition. The truth is, there's a big moat to win there. There's a lot of money to win there, guys. It's not just going to be a little bit of money there. There's a lot to win there. I mean, Uber drives how much every single day? It's just going to continue going, guys. At least I wouldn't look for that to kind of be the reason why things go down, but because there's other names that are going to win. So I think it's a combination there. think Tesla's just a matter. It's a momentum stock, guys. You got to stay with the momentum.
Well, plus if you look at how much it's down here, even with that kind of tank a little bit poop off the open, it's not crazy, right? It's
No, it's
this
still
thing
within
just
recovery. It's still within like hourly ranges, right? And so
yeah, it's within like the range of 2 days ago. So yeah, it gets, if you're especially if you're looking at an intraday chart of Tesla, right, it's very easy to get like super hyped up one way or the other. So I always find on Tesla a nice zoom out is a good idea because yeah, it just broke yesterday's low, and then that massive breakout candle it had is probably about halfway through that massive breakout candle. So it could just be classified as this is still noise hanging out in this area.
got a little dip there, got the ad there in TEM, taking a shot here, guys. This is the hard part about taking shots, right? You're always going to feel that first pressure as you get bigger and bigger. You got to be able to handle it. You got to be able to understand. You're focusing on the chart, just focus on the chart. Execution matters over everything, and just worry about that.
Your TM's holding that VWAP well. And again, you got Nancy
Big
Pelosi
bet.
on your side. You can't
She doesn't lose, so
you can't go wrong betting with the GOAT.
I don't know what the hell she's doing in government. She should just run a hedge fund.
Well, then she wouldn't have all the data.
All the data, all the inside information, more like it. But we ain't getting into that. Crime legal, baby. All right, getting hit there in TEM. That was a quick dip there, guys. Ooh, they came after me on the stop hunt there, guys. Got triggered off of that move down there. Triggered down there. That was a hard move there. I don't know what happened, but TEM came for some size down there at 69.50s, and they got me.
Well, and the SPY kind of doing the same thing here, where it's hitting that pre-market high and then reversing again. That's the second time that it's done that. So yeah, you got to pay close attention there. Oh, is that a real wick that just happened there?
Yeah, that was a wick there. I don't know what happened there. Definitely a quick little pullback, maybe some profit taking there. Some sizing came in on TEM, knocked it too quickly down there. I mean, the bid dropped like 50 cents in less than a second. So got caught there, guys. Was looking good. I was up like 100, 115. I think even a little bit more at one point. So hey, this is the hard part also with this account, right? It's a small limit, right, on the downside action. It's only 300. So I don't get too much to kind of fight, right? So look at TEM coming back, right? It could have just been sizing down there. I didn't wait for the liquidity move, and now it's going to go. So can't do nothing about it now. Done for the day, guys, and done for the day nice and early here. So it's going to be a nice hangout. So this is the day where you guys get to run the show. What do you guys want to look at? What do you guys want to look at today, guys? So I'll show you guys here. Took the hits there, right? Hey, it happens, guys. There you guys see it on the screen. 97 on that TSLL, then 210 on that Tempest. And I was going to set a break-even stop there and a stop there, but I would have got hunted too. That's the problem with Tempest. The range and the size and the spread with 20 cents, 25 cents in the spread, it can easily just bid down and then all of a sudden spread out. I think it spread out there by like 30 or 40 cents there, and it just got me.
It'll do that. It's a whippy one. It's just like the market, man. The market just can't seem to make up its mind. I don't know if they're waiting for JPOW. I don't know why. I don't know if he's saying anything else of interest today or if it's just more, questions and answers. But over that pre-market high now and holding over that pre-market high, just barely. It's just a very tight overall pre-market range that we got to keep an eye on.
It is what it is. Not too bad. Made like 1,200 yesterday. I'll take the 300 today. And that's part of making 1,200. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you keep pushing, you're gonna run into at least that pullback. But it's 300 because it's trade the pull, right? Because if not, that drop was a little bit further down, and it's a lot further than 300, right? So there's a positive to there too.
Right, and that's the fact that again, stop outs, as much as they're painful in the moment, are without a doubt the best thing to happen.
Yeah.
Where you can, you don't need to worry now. You go kick rocks when you're done the show, and then from there you kind of recover and feel good about it, right?
Yeah, it's just how it goes sometimes, guys. We'll keep watching out there. Ion Q is one that I'm just keeping in the long-term ideas, and man, AMD doesn't stop, and no one talking about it, man. I feel like the media is just ignoring this until it gets up to here, and then they're gonna start talking about it. Once it reaches like 200 and it's having its Nvidia moment, then you'll see everyone talk about AMD.
Mr. Noss, what's your thought on us reaching all-time highs, then triple topping on the SPY, looking back at the 4 hour? That is just way too much thinking, is the way I look at it. Is that if you're breaking new all-time highs, that means there's an overwhelming demand for stocks from some of the smartest people in the world. So I just want to participate in that. If it reverses from there, then that's fine. But you just got to play the trend as long as it's there, right? There will be signs if the trend reverses, and you'll get stopped out and you'll kind of have to move on. But I think anticipating a triple top, which triple tops are exceedingly rare, trying to anticipate that, I think is just way too much. Again, I think your plan is to usually just react. Could there be a lot of games at all-time highs on the SPY, even though we've hit it on the Qs yesterday? On the SPY, absolutely, right? We could get, one of the best things to do is go back, and I've already done this, but go back, and it's very easy to do. Note every bear market. So 2022, 2020, 2019, 2018. There's a lot of bear markets recently. And then just look at what happens when they come back to all-time highs, right? Would you rather be selling there, anticipating some sort of drop, or buying? What I found is in most cases, you get a little bit of back and forth, choppy action. We break the all-time highs, we come back to test it, we do that, and then eventually it ends up being a really great buy in the times that I've checked. But yeah, there's been, in the last 20 years, I think there's been 10 official bear markets. So,
So you're saying that you're seeing double rainbows, triple rainbows?
Yeah, the triple top thing is always
The
interesting
triple
to me.
rainbow, bro. You don't see it? You don't see the triple rainbow, Michael?
Because the exceedingly rare, I guess I would say, with triple tops, right? Generally speaking, you'll get, that'd be too easy for the
Yeah,
market.
that's just how it goes.
To have one area reject over and over again. So again, I don't expect a clean break. I never expect. I always say this, that the more an area is being watched by everybody, the more games are going to be around that area, right? If it's a very obvious area, like all-time highs, 52-week highs, that kind of thing, the less in the short run it'll be clean. So I'm still in the camp that we're probably going to hit all-time highs, maybe come back a bit, maybe break out a bit, and we'll have this kind of back and forth sloppy type action. But in the long run, having an overwhelming demand for stocks is a good thing, again, by a lot of the smartest people on planet Earth. So I want to be with them.
We'll see what happens on this circle rejecting right now. Can it hold on there and keep rejecting? I think just need to watch the hourly chart right there.
The genius bill, is that what they're talking about?
Yeah, I mean they've been talking about that.
I had someone just today explain to me the joke about why they're calling it the genius bill, because he calls himself a stable genius, and it's about stable coins, so they called it the genius bill. And I was like, oh, cool. I didn't get the joke. Ripple, yeah, a lot of Bitcoin right now, and I've got it on the bottom of my screen here, is actually doing really well here, moving higher.
It's going for the trend line approach. See if Bitto gets there to 22 today.
Ethereum not participating just yet.
ETHU doesn't look bad.
Solana's trying to catch up, so you would expect this to be a rising tide lifting all boats kind of thing, right? Eventually, if you have Bitcoin go, and if it goes enough, you're going to have people move into Ethereum, people move back into Solana. The Solana chart, I mentioned this on Twitter last night. I love, you know, 125 has been support on Solana for a long time. It did a little undercut. Let me grab this real quick. This is, you'll like this, Mitch, right? I love this kind of chart where you have this very clear support, you have that undercut and then rip. So I'm very interested in Solana here.
Go
And
back,
that,
look.
you know, that thing with the meme coins. And then Ethereum, a lot of these had this, right? Ethereum kind of has the same thing where you've had this, you know, 2,300 area was support a couple times. We undercut and we ripped.
I love
this
the
take us back
undercut
to
now.
here?
I mean, if we're going to all-time highs, if you feel we're going to all-time high, I feel like the bet's there to be made. That's just what I see. Like, if you feel all-time highs is coming, I think Bitcoin comes with it to a new all-time high on Bitcoin. So
yeah,
and the way I see it.
Every time I see one of these, like Bitcoin is very famous on doing this undercut and rip. And it feels like there's really nothing in our way to stop us to what, 112, which is all-time highs. Through that, what, 120, 125 is pretty interesting. So, you know, it's generally speaking, you like to see Bitcoin do this when it hit all-time highs. I don't like that it's just kind of been frustrating people for almost 2 months now, but positioning, right? I don't have that up now, but positioning is still not very bullish inside of Bitcoin. So that to me gives me like a huge bull upside of things. And same with the SPY, right? We're hitting new all-time highs. We get more data on positioning on the weekend, which I'll be very interested to go over, but the positioning is not good on the SPY. They're still not super long. And until they do, when they get super long, that's when you'll see me get a little bit skittish. But until then,
Mid cap NKTR ripping today from 25 to 30 there. It's up big there. It's up about 21%. Nice move there on NKTR Biotech.
I end up not taking this FedEx trade, even though it was.
Oh, the FedEx reversal. They do it all the time. Look at UPS. Maybe you can catch UPS on the reversal back.
Yeah, this was a nice. I like that this was happening right at the post-market low. Kind of makes you feel that, okay, this was priced in. Everyone kind of figured that out, and they're maybe use this dip to buy some. I just didn't like it. Just, I don't know, didn't look good, but I shouldn't care about that, right? I should just be taking them. So
yeah, that's just how it is, right?
I did take Hood, not doing anything for me here. I'll break it down a little bit. Let me check. Yeah, so the idea with Hood, I don't think I'm going to hold all the way to 81.50, which is the 2-day VWAP. I'm looking more maybe these highs 82.50. Q's triggering there. So Q's doing a little bit of a breakdown here ahead of JPOW chatting, yapping about whatever. I am out of buying power on this account. That is good. It's another thing we can chat about at some point. I overwhelmingly am disappointed if I'm not utilizing all of my day trading buying power. Right? I always look at that as when I hit that little that it yells at you for the buying power. I consider that a good win because it shows that I have enough instances of events that are good enough that they warranted me to use the buying power. Because if not, then it feels like a bit of a failure. So NVTS, we talked about this earlier, did take this short in through here. I covered a little bit. I just heard the beep there, shy of the 2-day VWAP. But just because, again, we're seeing the SPY trigger here and then Hood working out ever so slightly. So I feel kind of weird shorting one of the best ones out here, but that's what the system's telling me to do. So that's what I'm doing.
All right, guys. Just seeing a nice pullback there in the Qs. It seems like it might just be a little bit of a choppy day as the VIX starts to go higher, and so you might just play into a little bit of some pullback action here as everyone's looking for all-time highs. It might take until the afternoon to get there. So I think at this case, you're seeing a bunch of pullbacks, even HIMs that ripped higher. Maybe that's an opportunity for you guys to look at. It's back down to 44.60s there. Made a rip up towards 46.48s. We'll see if it can continue going back up. But what I can tell you guys is that at least from my scanner out here this morning, there was some stocks in the green, but now majority have gone red. There's CrowdStrike in the green, HIMS in the green, Zim in the green, Palantir, Grail. But other than that, they're starting to see some other names that are going red there that had a good move, like ARM, GEV out the gates. So even AMD going red now. So it's a tough market out there right now. So if you're seeing some chop, well, Steph, that's why we said heading now, right?
No, I think that's a brilliant thing to do, because we know this chop is going to continue, because we know Jay Powell is going to start yapping about whatever.
Yap.
So, right, that we saw that yesterday when Jay Powell, we can actually just go back to the chart here, right? He was talking kind of in through this area right here where nothing happened, and then he left and the market started to grind higher. And you see it all the time. It's a super common thing when you have these events going on. It's like they pause the bots and they go, okay, if he says something really bad, short it. If he says something really good, buy it. Otherwise, just don't do anything. And then he leaves and they go, okay, the risk is now off the table of him, jinxing us. So have at it, right? Get back to it. But yeah, it could just be this, again, this purple line down here is all the post-market lows. So we could sell off a lot and still be above post-market lows. And then this yellow line here is the 2-day VWAP. So just to explain to new viewers, 2-day VWAP is just representing what is the average price of today and yesterday. So if you were, dollar cost averaging, if you were buying all yesterday and then you were buying all today, what's your average price? And that's roughly what it is. So it ends up being a pretty decent sentiment indicator. Sometimes you can see things bounce pretty significantly off a 2-day VWAP, things like that. So yeah, it's just a good sentiment. If you're above the 2-day VWAP, that means pretty much everyone who bought yesterday is loving life and making money. If you're below the 2-day VWAP, it means if you bought yesterday, you're losing money. So there's no better sentiment indicator than price to tell you what people are actually feeling about the market. So we're mentioning cybersecurity. I love the space. I own some CrowdStrike. I own some Hack, new all-time highs today. Again, on Hack, or I think the other one is Bug. Probably also, yeah, new all-time highs there today as well. So you're going to see that in the CrowdStrikes, new all-time highs, the PanWs. Not quite there yet.
Who said PanW 200 on the gap down 180?
Yeah, well, this again, I think this space should be considered the same as defense. And man, this defense stock, look at this defense chart.
Yeah.
Right. So if they're going to be plowing money into defense, which the government flat up said they're going to spend more money on defense than ever before.
More money. That's why Trump hates Powell.
And you think, right? So if they're going to buy bombs, they got to buy the cybersecurity to make sure the bombs hit the right people. So it just makes sense to take a look at those, right?
All right, guys, 9:55. We'll see what happens. Definitely a little bit of a dull morning, at least in the market. Maybe it's just me, but I just see nothing but dull moves around there. NKTR being the top name out there. That's the one that I'm seeing hold the 90 MA run. That's your top mover of the day, at least for me right now. At least it's holding the market action with some of these smaller names kind of pushing hard, but not being able to hold on. Surf Air Mobility, another mobility name that I haven't talked about ever, showing up on my scanner. SRFM. It's on a halt down, but man, I don't know this name at all. Anybody know Surf Air Mobility? The chart looks good, but I have no idea. It's in the airline space, so it's just a mobility name. I'm sure it's like a Joby or an Archer that we haven't heard of. I've heard of Blade. I've heard of plenty of names in this space. Didn't know SRFM. Surf Air Mobility.
Never heard of it. A couple good questions, right? We made 30% of this bull run in a single 4-hour candle in April. Does that mean anything?
Right back, guys.
No. That doesn't mean anything. It just means that was the low, right? And at the time, pretty much everyone knew, okay, that's probably the low getting put in. But look at COVID, right? Again, this is the beauty of it, is none of this is new. You can look at COVID and you can see, yeah, well, 30% of this bull market was probably made up in these couple candles here. And then we went through there, right? And once we hit new highs, we continued to ramp and then doubled since there. So, no, essentially, it just means there was a lot of people buying stocks is bullish, right? This is why I'll never understand people who misread the teaching of people who invented RSI and Bollinger Bands. Never once did they say, hey, you sell a thing when it gets overbought and you buy it when it gets oversold. That's something that like TikTokers made up, because an overwhelming demand, an overbought condition is an overwhelming demand for that instrument. That is generally a bullish thing. And an oversold condition is an overwhelming supply of that thing. It's generally a bearish thing. Yeah, so again, just ride the trend. Biggest tip I can ever give anyone in trading is turn off the news. They're not your friend, right? They don't want you to make, right? They profit if you are afraid. So, yeah, that's my just 2 cents on it. Bull Z. So we can talk about warrants. Warrants are just options that are issued by a company. It's going to be a slightly leveraged version. If the liquidity's there, go nuts. But if the stock does crap, this will do crap. If the stock does great, this will do great. It will just be a leveraged version of that, which it should it should mean you apply less buying power to your position, not that you use the leverage to take something higher. Right? There's no predictive value in a warrant, but again, a warrant is just a stock option issued by a company. So if you're buying this, you're buying basically call options on bull or Weeble, right? So leverage, right? Leverage for leverage sake could be good, could be bad. You can just see by the chart there's less liquidity in it. So day trading might be a little more complicated because there's less liquidity, right? If you look at yesterday, it looks like there's almost no liquidity in the name. So you got to be careful there. Watch yourself for sure. But yeah, so it's just going to move with the company, right? If you take this and then you can overlay them. But if you take this and you look at that, it's roughly the same move, right? No different in either of those moves. Just quick look back at the SPY. We back to highs after undercutting VWAP. So still this chop continues with JPOW coming on in a second. And JPOW will also increase the chop, as we know, right? He's not going to say anything, I don't think, that's going to spook the market. I don't think he's going to say anything to really rally the market. I think it's just going to be, it is what it is with JPOW, right? I know you guys see me bringing up these random symbols, but I'll explain it all soon. Eventually, maybe auto trading, maybe is eventually. We'll see. Yeah, out of buying power, which is good. You always want to be, in my opinion, especially intraday. You always want to be out of buying power. In my opinion, that's a conversation we could have for another day as well. UNH, I'm in UNH, so full disclosure. Again, I'll always say that. I think it could do this for a very long period of time. There's a lot of like legal things and trials coming up and all of that. So I bought a little bit. I think my average was like 250, and I sold a little bit in the spike. So I've got some of that left. I think it could do this for a long time. I think the lows may be in, but it could be that the highs here are in for a while too, and this could just be the new price of UNH. So for me, when I bought some, I chickened out some here just because I had such a great gain in a short period of time. But I'm looking at UNH as in the next 5 years, this thing is probably going to be back to all-time highs. Not something, not something that I'm looking to trade kind of like right now, right? Trump is bragging on TV. I don't think that is a new thing. Isn't that fairly common? What's he bragging about specifically? Because I ain't going to be watching. That's for sure. Again, I think JPOW is one of those things that he would have started chatting now. So these things go on for a while. I expect, remember yesterday too, there was a couple like almost rug pull kind of action, like, a push down and a rip up, and right, there was these kind of games that happened on the market. So just make sure that you understand that those games are, certainly have potential to continue. It's QS. So QS, I think I might take a shot on it this time. Oh, yeah. Am I out of buying power in my own account too? Yes, that's awesome. But yeah, the idea is there's just scalp to potentially the 2-day VWAP. But just remember, there's a lot of chop recently. So, right, we hit this high again. Now we're falling back off it. Just a lot of games, right? A lot of games that we have to sort out, and a lot of games we have to deal with as the day goes on. This NKTR. Yeah, what a rip there. Pulling back to VWAP, holding VWAP so far. So that's pretty interesting. Snapped that back to VWAP. That ends up getting held. That's a good thing for the bulls. Home sales. Yeah. So ITB is an interesting ETF that I like more and more. If we can get back above this 98, means this big rounding top was indeed not a top, and it could that could work out as well. I don't know. I'm more into the cybersecurity stocks than the security stocks. Like I have some of this KTOS. I bought. You can see I have this all drawn out already. But you know, big round at bottom. I bought it here, kind of on the breakout of this round at bottom. I like this one. I think it's more of a security name. Yeah, I'm less about just because I think there may be a large advantage to trading the security names as opposed to the cybersecurity, or the cybersecurity names as opposed to like guys that actually make bombs. And just the reason for that is just kind of margin on the things, right? Software is just an easier beast in order to sell. Yeah, Hack. I think Hack is great. And again, I own a bunch of Hack. And then what you're talking about, XHB, yeah. So home builders, because there was a home builder number today. It looks like it was a little bit more negative than the one. Was it Monday? We were talking about this home builder number that just rocketed the ETF a bunch. So let's see what happens with that guy. And IBO. What is this? Impact Biomedical. Well, there you go.
IBO.
From 35 to just nice 500% gain in a little bit.
Yeah, that NKTR came down a little bit. It's back at the 9. Bounced off the VWAP. That's not the worst one.
Yeah, someone was mentioning it there, right? Pulled right back in, and then held. Yeah. Question is, right? Does it make this high, or does it reverse and fail back down?
Today is one of those days where the Qs is just trying to make you trade.
Yeah. Well, we got Mr. Powell doing a yap, and I kind of think we're probably in for it until he leaves. So hopefully he leaves relatively soon. Would be fantastic if he stopped.
Not much moving out there.
I see you. Oh, yeah.
Hood recovering a little bit.
Yeah, end up just being a flat trade on Hood there. Right? You can see all the short arrows pulled down a little bit. I didn't take some off. I probably should have. And then yeah, right back up. So just took a little bit of a flat on that trade.
SMR going red today. One name that's getting strong, guys. I would keep an eye on it. Your scam, your favorite scam, Michael. It's time to take a swing.
Yeah,
it looks good on the swing.
Yeah.
If I just don't care about the name, why not back above 400 here?
Oh yeah, I know. I think it's a scam, but I own a bunch. Like I just because I have a system that told me to buy it.
Yeah, it's the truth. It looks good though. I like just the recent dip, right? We're seeing the same strategy, right? The dip, then take off, right? The key is after the hard dip, take off, not like stair step move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost like you see on this chart where the opening is nowhere near the prior day's candle. And if you can do that, right? Like if you can get away from like you're just really making higher lows, that's what you want to see. That
Yeah.
expansion, that speed of a ramp up.
Well,
I'm
it's just
gonna be playing these more often, man. I'm just gonna be looking for this pattern. I'm just gonna be looking for stocks that had washouts of supports and just start the scanner there. Right. And then we need to see a day one move, and we're gonna use that day one move to pretty much try to create our entry. Right.
I think that's an amazing strategy to kind of put your whole hat on, right? I think that's a great strategy, just to say I could see definitely somebody making a very good living and just say, hey, I'm just going to wait for liquidity grabs or bear trap, bull traps, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And
It's a bear trap. It's a trap. It's a trap for the bears, actually. If the bulls that are getting in early are adding in the right spots, they're adding on those liquidities, right? The really good bears, the really good bulls that catch things early on the first wave, right? Like MSTR, I felt like a lot of people are probably selling at 360s, while the big traders are probably buying up 360s here.
Oh yeah, because look at this wedge on the daily, this wedge breakout, right?
Yeah, and if you got it back at the original trend line break, right? Original trend line break of this stock was like, let's say, closer towards a look of the 300, where it recovered 300, came below it, then really ripped out of that 300. So there's some traders that got this, maybe let's say 310, right? If I got this at 310, the ad is 360. You know what I mean? Versus where traders are getting scared there, right? Because they're getting into this trade on the sideways consolidation, thinking they have it picked, right? Let's say like maybe 332s or 375s. This is why I also say that being the worst area to be in a chart is in the middle of the daily range. You're neither a bull or a bear, so you become a pig, and the pigs get slaughtered, man. This is very important to kind of think. I think talk about, Michael. I know that you do a lot of gap downs and you're playing off of support. Is there any strategy you have for like resistance buy, or are you mainly a support buying on weakness?
Well, yeah, generally buy on weakness and look for a move back through VWAP first, right? Because it's it's going to show that in the short term there are buyers, and those right, those buyers are aggressive, and then that gives you a little bit of a defined entry point and says, okay, I'll take this trade. Kind of if I see that entry point. But yeah, I just love doing the opposite of, I don't know, makes me maybe a bit of a jerk, but I just love doing the opposite of whatever. That's why the whole way up I was buying and talking about how positioning was short. That we knew we could just look and say, okay, the biggest guys in the world are short this market. I want to be buying there. If the biggest guys in the world are super long the market, I want to at least be cautious. Doesn't mean I'll fight the trend, but so like with FedEx, right, which I missed. The idea was, hey, we have this zone right here that people are buying in, and right, most of retail is probably going to be panicking that right FedEx is down this much, so you wait for the pop back through VWAP. So you're just not buying the thing as it goes down at lows. You're waiting for the pop back through VWAP, and yeah, we got that, and that was a big move. The miss of the day for this guy for sure. Qs aren't really moving. Spies not really moving. Yeah. So we are in full on tight consolidation chop mode here, guys. So just be careful.
This is the day that I tell you guys, and I said it earlier. This is trying to create over trading. So one of the things that happens, and I think that's very important, right, is understanding that there's days where the market's on the gas pedal, and there's days where even the market itself is on a brake pedal. If you're trying to fight and gas in a day where the market is on a brake pedal, it's easy disaster. You just keep trying to look for like a continuation trade, and you're noticing what's happening. The ranges are almost breaking and expanding, but not actually breaking out. And so you could be in a bullish trade that's not making that much money. You can be in a bearish trade that's not making that much money. So essentially what you're seeing is range bound. It's literally like it's almost constructed. But sometimes I think this is also true. When we get that range bound, you might even get in a little expansion, but it stays within the range still. It just bounces more and more and chops more and more. It's like a ping pong ball. We refer to that, right? Ping pong action. And I feel like that's what we're getting right now. Look at the Qs now, right? They were looking so good out the gates. Now they're starting to come back down to the bottom end of the range and just ping ponging around. There's just back and forth action right now from the way that the market's moving, and that's not going to help anybody, right? When it's just like this, tick, 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 just moving back and forth, right?
And it'll probably be the exact same like it as yesterday, where this is going to happen. J-Pow walks off the stage, and then the market decides up or down what's it going to do that day. But right, it's a perfect thing to always remember is that this has been studied, and I think 77% of the time the market's range bound from the open. Right,
pop, pop, bop, bop, bop. Now we might get a little move there where it comes back to 543s, and then still another little chop, and then another little chop, and then another little chop. Then finally we might go higher, right? That's how the market loves to do it sometimes, guys. So that's why another thing, and you hear some traders talk about this, about trying to wait for either range breaks or waiting for the market to be up or down a full percent, waiting for that like kind of day where the market's showing you that it's moving. When the market moves, guess what? A lot of times stocks are going to follow it, right? And that's just the way things work. So I think you can. This is one of those days where you can take it easy. Also, you don't need to gas pedal every day, right?
That's big too, right? It's know the day. Again, there is
know the day.
70 some odd percent of the time the market's range bound. It only trends intraday around 30% of the time. So most of those days, what you want to do is just kind of stay alive so that when that 30% finally shows up and you get a nice big range day, you're able to make money off it. Because what I would say is most people, if you look at their day trading results, it's very inconsistent, and probably because they're just killing it on trend days, but those trend days just happen and then they give it all back. So if you can just stop giving it all back on range days, that'll be interesting. But yeah, other than my short, I'm looking. I re-shorted hood here.
All right, coming back to you.
Just took right. So the idea is that I took these initial trades, and then we got this kind of 2-minute close above VWAP right here. So I got out, and then now that it's broken back down through, I just took another shot because instead of having my stop way up here now, I can just put my stop right here, and I'll probably do the same thing. Another 2-minute close above VWAP, I'll probably exit as well. But yeah, just kind of playing, trying to suss out a position, I guess, for lack of a better term, on this strategy. And I am running another strategy currently. I'm trying to do it manually. It's really rough, but something that will be interesting when auto trading rears its head, which I'm very excited for. I do better in range bound days, he says. That's actually going to be a good thing, right? So because again, most days are going to be range bound. I know a lot of people who do much better in range bound days, and then what they struggle on the other side of things, where they want to make sure that on trend days they're not getting run over. So the people that generally do better on range bound days are revision to the mean traders, right? I'm going to buy the dip, sell the rip, do that over and over again. And then it's to make sure that the other thing doesn't happen, right? It's kind of like selling options versus buying options. If you're selling options, you're going to be right most of the time, right? Most options, like 80%, expire worthless, which is great. And there's a lot of people who make a lot of money collecting credit and selling options. It's just to make sure that 20% of the time that the thing really rips, that you're not the bag holder. You're not left holding the bag, right? And then vice versa on the other side of things. If you're someone who's looking to buy options, you got to know that most of the time you're going to be wrong. But every now and then you're going to hit it real big. So you just got to make sure. So it's always the same, right? Trend trading versus revision of the mean versus and trying to find systems that can do both, right?
Agreed, definitely. And you got to have plays or understand it when it's not your play, right? So that's the hardest thing I think I see a lot of the times with people that have one strategy. If you have one strategy, sometimes you just really need to know when your strategy is not playing well. And so that's the hardest part. You got to keep a lot of data. You got to look at maybe all stocks that are trading that pattern to try to stay on top of that, to knowing when things are working and when things aren't, right? So
Yeah, the other solution, and then this is what I'm really excited for with potential systematic trading here, is that
yeah.
you run multiple systems, right? And this is what I do for my personal money and my swing trading money. Is I have trend following systems and mean reversion systems and all of that, and I just understand that there'll be periods of time where one system's doing well and periods of time where some systems are doing poorly. And it's just my job to make sure they're risk managed correctly. That over time, both of them do the same, but discretionarily it's really, really hard because it's hard to, if you think, for example, today is going to be a wicked trend day, it's going to be hard to put on those mean reverting setups, knowing that there's a good chance you're going to lose, and vice versa. Putting on the trend following plays, knowing that most of the time they're probably going to lose, that becomes really hard, which, again, having systems, having robots do it for you really, really helps out.
I was seeing some rumors on the streets out there. Looks like Apple is talking about adding lenses to F-Wonk, the stock there. Of course, F1 stock. They're trying to put their lenses, their camera lenses, on their cars. F-Wonk. Which is
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, so that's a Liberty Media. It's a broadcasting company, right? But I'm not talking about that it makes this company that much better. But this one has been kind of going up. This is also your Formula One, right? Just doing well there. But what I thought was interesting is Apple's doing some moves here, guys. I think we're gonna maybe find out that Apple does pull that move to go ahead and buy and go and AI shopping, right? And different kind of tools out there. We've talked about it on this show. I think we're almost at that point. The rumors are out there. Let's see it. Let's see it, Apple. That's how you get Apple right back to new all-time highs. I'll tell you that right now. Like, that's just the way. Apple gets held down for so long, guys. I think it might start being time to think about, as we approach all-time highs here, it's a time for Apple. Look at all the bottoming here on this chart, right? This bottoming is for a reason, guys. This is bottoming is what? Bottoming's time for the institutions to get in, not the small guy. The small guy hits the buy and doesn't care, right? But the big guy needs to load in. So a lot of times what I look for on a big time chart is, do you have multiple points where big money could have used to add in and build the position, not necessarily go in at once. And in this case, it seems like the area is right around that, like kind of 192 to 190, or I will say to 200. From the 190 to the 200 range seems to be areas where I think buying's happening. So I'd be watching this. This looks interesting, right? I mean, it just needs one good news really to get it going. It's had like a 3 or 4 months of negative news.
Yeah, and it's one of those I think a lot of people, probably not a controversial take, just look at Apple as kind of like a staple now, right? Like I think Warren Buffett's question was great when he came to Apple. He basically said, they asked him why he started to buy Apple, and he said, "Oh, well, I started to offer people 10 grand to not own an Apple product ever again, and no one would do it." So then I bought Apple, right? Because I look at it, if someone came up to me right now and said, "Okay, 10 grand," and I hard no, right? No shot.
Ooh, big dip in Ethereum there.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm watching crypto kind of pull back in general. The market kind of pulling back in general. Still up on the day, still up about 1.5%. But yeah, look at this kind of sell that's happening here. So I know that there was some talk about a bill or something for stable coins, maybe a sell the news kind of event. Again, I expect gain.
That was already done though, right? At least from my understanding, that's already done. But hey, we'll see what happens. I'll catch up with the conversation here. Let's go look at
AEVA. Is someone saying that's geez? Is that the one that YOLO'd into?
Is this what's going on?
Look at this.
Oh, that's what it is. Trump's talking right now.
Okay.
He's in NATO, guys. I'm gonna bring this up right now, guys. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna reshare here.
Sure. Yeah. So, right, again, still short hood, a 2-minute close above. I'll get out here, but yeah, pretty uneventful day for me, and I'm totally
all right. He's talking about war situation updates, so that's what's moving the markets right now, guys.
Okay. So you got both J-Pow and Trump yapping.
Look,
Here you go.
we're going to talk to them.
No one cares about
Next week.
J-Pow right now. I'll tell you that
No.
right now.
They'll come back once they get.
An agreement? I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. The only thing we'd be asking for is what we were asking for before about we want no nuclear, but we
Did he
destroyed
just
the
admit that
nuclear.
there was no
In other words,
ceasefire?
it's destroyed. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up. To kingdom come. And
The kingdom come.
I don't feel very strongly about it. We got a document, wouldn't be bad. We're going to meet with him, actually.
Oh man, I'm led by this guy,
Yeah, go ahead,
Michael.
please.
I don't know.
Mr. President, Netherlands TV, thank you for visiting the country.
Good.
As I
Thank you.
understood,
Oh, they're enjoying this.
of course,
Netherlands
like, you know, how
TV
you
is
slept
enjoying
last night,
this.
House of the
Oh, I
King.
slept beautifully.
But probably more serious question. I think you just had a meeting with President Zelensky. Did you discuss any ceasefire in this Russo-Ukrainian?
No, I wanted to know how he's doing. He was very nice, actually. You know, we had a little rough times.
He's a very nice guy, you know.
He was
He's a very good
couldn't
guy.
have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do. I think what I took from the meeting couldn't have been nicer, actually. But I took from the meeting that he'd like to see it end.
He doesn't say anything.
I'm gonna
Say something.
Putin, see if we can get it ended. But look, these are brave people. They're fighting these wars all over the place. You know, last week they had
Just like listening to your grandpa talk, right? It's just you just nod your head. Okay, bud.
You're like, yeah, yes, grandpa, yes, grandpa.
That's nice, buddy.
It's crazy.
I think we need to have a
So
new
I'll be
age
speaking to
limit,
Putin.
man,
No, I had a good
on the
meeting with-
presidency. I think that's
with
what's
Zelensky,
important. I think
and
we need to
I had
really
a-
start
we
talking
had a
about
lot
the
of good
younger
meetings with a lot of
generation
people,
trying
a
to
lot of
lead
great
a little bit
leaders.
more.
The best idea I heard from that was someone said, okay, you take the average life expectancy of your country, you subtract 20 years, and that's the
Mhm.
oldest you can be in politics. And basically, the idea is you got to live here for 20 years after whatever policy you set forward goes. And I thought that was a great idea. It's like,
Ooh, Tesla's dumping, man. Tesla's getting the dump with this move of the market coming down.
Well, he's a very good.
price Brian and lower. So yeah, 606.50 is the 2-day VWAP. That'd be an interesting place to take a look at potentially.
In the South, as very good.
You know, a bounce or something. But yeah, just a slow grind.
VIX is
lower
starting to
low.
move here.
Icebreakers. You know,
Man,
you're very good at icebreakers.
Tesla really breaking
And,
down here.
I actually made him an offer. I didn't go to Congress.
BlackBerry's up 15%.
BlackBerry.
It's not
That's
old. It's
still
Gonna come
exists.
back with the
It's
phone,
used
man.
Icebreaker, and I offered him
New phone.
about
BlackBerry.
1/3 of what he asked for. But we're negotiating. We need
What about
icebreakers in the
BBAI?
US, and if we can get
Ooh,
some
BBAI was the
inexpensively,
short
I'd like to
of
do
the
that.
day.
Actually, they'll fix it up. make
Yeah,
it
bull
better.
trap dropped
Also,
fast
we may buy
there.
some icebreakers. You know that you're the
NKTR.
king of
Still holding on
icebreakers
that
in a particular
NKTR.
country. They make them good. They make them really good, and they know what they're doing.
See what happens on that
And,
one. That could drop
so we're
any moment.
negotiating with them for about
SRFM
15 different icebreakers, but one of them is available now. It's
at
old,
Surf Air, still
and
hanging
it's,
on there. We'll see what happens with
old.
that
It's like
one.
5-6 years old.
Interesting move
And
off
we're
the
trying to buy it. I'm
$5.
trying to make a good deal. That's all I do my whole life. That's all I do is make deals. Yeah, please.
All I do is make deals,
Go
bro.
ahead.
All I
Sure,
do is
go
make
ahead.
deals. Come on.
I'm a businessman.
Yeah,
Right?
question
You know,
for
different.
NewsHour,
Cool.
Dutch TV. First of all, on
You're
Article
fired.
5 on your way here.
Nice. Yeah, so now we're bouncing a bit again. It's
I'll give you my Dutch
everything's going to be chopping. This is why we bring this guy up, right? It's
Chop.
just
two Article 5 change.
wait till he leaves,
at
and
the
that will
sky.
tell you what the market's going to do, right? Yeah.
Look
As
at the
soon as
reaction.
Today. My
as
second
soon as
question-
he's done talking, that will be the real sign of this is what's going to happen in the market.
do
Hey,
say
it could
that
be
everything over
markets
there
waiting
was,
to hear no
obliterated.
negative
Yeah,
thing
well, there
from
are
Trump. Just
numerous
don't
Right.
wreck the
reports, and they're
market.
coming out
Yeah,
very-
just everyone's holding their breath. Just don't spook us.
Just,
And
just don't
I
say
will
anything
that on a
wrong
very,
Yeah.
with the war. We're
confidential
not going to
basis, they're
war.
looking
You
at the
just don't say
reports,
that. You know what I mean?
like
And
numerous
there you go.
reports,
The market
and
can
including
react
people
back.
going to the
But what
site
I'd be looking
and
at
checking
is
the
the
site.
hourly
And
candle.
they're
at
going to
this
be
point.
having, I guess you're going to be having over the
Hourly
next couple
candle
of days
held the
full
pullback, right?
and
Let's just
encapsulated.
keep it simple, right?
But no, the site was obliterated.
Versus like
just
trying to
I said it
overreact
was.
or think of
And
anything.
just
Like
the
just think of
pilots
it like
should be
this.
given credit for.
Look what the
As
MACD
far
is
as
doing.
Article 5,
Expansion and
when I
holding,
came here,
trying to cross back. This pulled back
I came
towards this
here because it was
resistance, right?
something I'm
And then
supposed to be
turned right
doing,
off of
but I
that.
left
So
here a little
essentially
bit
creating yesterday's
differently.
resistance
I said,
as today's
I
support.
watched
This is
the
all
heads
good
of these
stuff
countries get
in the
up.
long run, right? We're
And the
still in the
love and
bullish
the
trend,
passion that
guys.
they
That's what I'm
showed for
trying to
their
show.
country was
At the end of
Mhm.
the day, right? We're
I've
still
never
in
seen
that
quite
trend
anything
higher
like it.
to all-time highs.
They want
And
to
what this
protect
could
their
mean
country,
is we could
and they need the
probably
United
get this
States.
in
And
the
without the United
afternoon.
States, it's
That's
not
what
going to
I'd
be
be
the
watching
same. And
for.
you can ask
Not necessarily
Mark,
happen
or
in
you
the
can
first
ask any
hour
of
of
the
the
people that
market,
were there.
but
It
after
was
that,
really
right?
moving
Now
to
we're
see
getting
it.
out of that first
They
hour of the
love their
day.
country.
This
They
is
were
why I
so
always look at the
respectful of
first hour of
me
the day as a
because I'm
red
the head of the
candle
United States. And I made,
opportunity to
you
buy
know,
swings on
the
those
King of
hourly
Saudi Arabia,
supports.
when I was in,
Just gives you
I was in
opportunity there,
the Middle
right?
East.
And a lot of
So
names,
I
especially
was in
strong
Qatar for a
names,
different
right?
reason, not a reason
You
to
want to
get
see
shot
strong
at.
names pull
We were
back
in
to
there for
support and give you an
economic
opportunity.
development reasons.
Tested
Qatar,
Mars
UAE,
strong
and Saudi
yesterday,
Arabia.
giving you an
All three
opportunity
leaders
to
of
catch
those
it
countries.
today,
And we took back
right? Things like
$5.1
that,
trillion
right? So we'll see
into
what
the United
happens here.
States.
Trump
All three
trying to move the
leaders said,
markets
you're
back up.
presiding over the hottest country in the world. The United
Market
States
has
right
been
now is
doing
the
what?
hottest country.
Liquidity
Everybody
moved
wants to be
down,
there. Everybody
nowhere
wants a
near
piece of
prior
it.
day's
He
candle,
said a year ago, your country was
barely
dead.
cutting into each other.
You had a dead
Yeah.
hand
Strong
feeling it.
move,
You had
guys.
a
Strong
country that
move.
was dead, and it was
Well,
You
and
see
dead.
how
then
these
You
all
had
cut
people
into
pouring
each
through
other.
the
All
borders.
these days
You
we're
had
cutting into each
inflation. You
other.
had everything.
Not
now,
anymore.
You made it.
now that bounce that we had is
But that's not
fading a little bit. We came up,
the
kissed
hottest.
VWAP, and we
It's the
faded. So yeah, just
The United States
remember,
was
guys,
the hottest
Ping pong.
until
Ping
they're
pong.
done
around
talking,
the table. It was a
like I look at all of this as in the market as noise until they're done talking. And when they're done talking, the market will potentially
When I saw
make a
the
decision of what it wants to do, right? So you
almost
need
everyone,
both
you probably
Yeah.
have the tapes.
him to be done talking and Jay Powell to be done talking, which will probably
One of them said,
be
Bring
around
them
the
back.
same time anyway.
It's without the
Um,
United States.
yeah. As soon as he walks off, you may see a final move in the market. That's
It will in
interesting.
the future because now they're paying much more money, but it wouldn't work. It was great. And I left here differently. I left here saying that these people really love their countries. It's not a ripoff. And we're here to help them protect their country. Okay, we'll do one or two more.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I expected it when he said we'll do one or two more, the market just to dump just for a second.
It's terrible what they've done.
AMD
No, I
coming
do.
back. That's
They're
looking
the
good.
only country that won't pay the full.
Held the 140
They won't
to a
stay at
key.
2%. I
To
think
me, it's
terrible.
been
they're doing very well. The
big money in
economy
that
is very
AMD
well.
trade.
And that economy could be blown right out of the
And
water.
that
with
AMD
something
trade, I have a
big
feeling I'm
happening.
going to
Spain
look
is the
back at that
only country
116
are
and
you
be
from
like,
Spain? Good,
the
congratulations.
hell, that 116,
You're the
that
only
thing has
country
never
that
looked
is
back.
not paying. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's too bad. So we'll make it up. You know what we're going to do? We're
One
negotiating.
stock that
with
I would be
Spain on
looking
a
at
trade
least
deal.
longer
We're gonna make them
term
pay
as we
twice as
pull
much.
back.
And I'm
I still
actually
like this
serious about that.
Salesforce.
We're gonna make
Salesforce pulled
Spain.
back massively
I
today.
like
I
Spain.
probably
I have
wouldn't
so
even get
many
it
people
today.
from
I'd
Spain.
wait to see it kind of,
It's a
you know,
great
calm
place and
down
they're
the
great
seas.
people.
But Salesforce,
Spain
interesting name for me.
the
On
only
pullbacks.
country out of all of the countries
Oracle too.
that
It's pulling back.
refuses to pay. And, you know, so they want a little bit of a free ride, but they'll have to pay it back to us on trade because I'm not going to let that happen. It's unfair. It's unfair to NATO. All right, sir, please. Go ahead, right in the back. Yeah, you tall one. The
Tall
man.
one. The tall
Mr.
man.
President Johannes Ketterer from Austrian National Television.
How are you?
NKR is continuing to base on VWAP. It keeps triggering my short side of things.
Oh, okay. This is a good question. Good question.
But you've now been in office for 5 months and 5 days. Why have you not been able to end the Ukraine war?
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him.
Oh, he's
And
pointing
it's been more
fingers.
difficult than other wars. I mean, look, we just ended a war in 12 days that was simmering for 30 years, frankly. We ended.
Yeah, the war's over. Iran and Israel love each other now. Like I ended it. They're great. They're going out to a beer later.
On Friday. We ended.
Little Congo's
Serbia
coming to the
was
White
gonna
House,
go at
man.
it.
Come on.
But maybe the most.
Do you know what I
important
do?
of all, India and Pakistan. And that wasn't whether or not they may someday have nukes like we're talking about in the Middle East, like we're talking about with Israel and Iran. This is they have nuclear weapons. I ended that with a series of phone calls on trade. I said, look, if you're going to go fighting each other, it was getting very bad. You know how bad that last attack was. It was really bad. If you're going to go fighting each other, we're not doing any trade deal. No, you have to do a trade deal. I said, we're not doing any trade deal. And in fact, I had the general, who was very impressive. The general from Pakistan was in my office last week. You know, Prime Minister Modi is a great friend of mine. He's a great gentleman. He's a great man.
You went so far
And I
from the
got them
question.
to
Did you
reason.
see
I
that?
said, we're not doing
Oh,
anything.
this is
You're gonna
this.
fight.
You want to know why
You went
I
so far from the question. The question was about because when he wasn't president, he was hitting Biden, saying that if he was
Go ahead,
president,
Jeff.
the Russia war and
Here's
Ukraine
another
war would
beauty,
be
Jeff.
done in a day.
yeah.
Right? It would just be done.
He's
Like
that
I would
beauty,
end it
all right.
immediately.
Go ahead.
But yeah,
Mr.
he
President,
just
to follow up on
avoided the
Ukraine,
question.
Will the
avoided.
United States contribute any more?
That's why I don't listen to
He's
news.
not picking the tall guy
Allies are
anymore.
giving.
That tall
One
guy,
question,
he's not getting picked ever again.
No, only is like give me your shortest, journalist. I'll only
He picked the
respond to them.
bald short guy after. You know what I mean?
He's unhappy with the
No,
way-
I
But yeah,
just,
that guy stepped up to the plate. I'll give him daps though, because that was a
And I
hard
was
question to
asked
ask
to meet with the opposition
to the president.
leader
I'm sure.
by the people that are running. I think
Just
they
even
have
ask
some
that
thing where
question.
if you have a
You said
meeting,
it
you're
very
supposed to meet with
well.
an opposition
He
leader.
stated
So
it correctly there,
that's
and
strange.
it's an interesting
That's
question at
good,
least.
but I met I didn't know him.
no,
The
yeah.
right
This is why everything I know about any news event is completely against my will,
people.
because
So
no one says anything. This is why I love
you're supposed to meet
price
with
action as opposed to news.
We'll have to
So
try
don't
not
tell
to
me
do
things,
that.
right? Show me things.
That's
And
not-
price action,
But
that
he
shows
was-
me what's going on.
I thought he was very
Stuck,
good as far as
still
the
building
money,
to the
uh,
upside.
going.
That's what I would say.
We'll
Stuck
see
and
what
still
happens.
building to the
There's
upside.
A lot of spirit.
Mhm.
Look, Vladimir
As long
Putin
as
really is in
the
that war.
short-term
People are
moving
dying
averages
at
aren't
levels that
breaking,
people haven't
we are
seen
still
before for a long
climbing
time. Go ahead.
this all-time high push.
Go ahead.
Right? Just
Yeah.
like yesterday,
White shirt.
you know, for a
Oh,
little while
she's
there,
all
it looked a
excited.
little scary,
So,
then recovery, right? A little
this
while
is
there, a little
Ukrainian,
scary, recovery.
Where
We've
are
seen
you
this
from?
2 days in a
I'm
row.
from Ukraine.
We gotta
So my
kinda
question
hold.
to you is whether or not the US is ready to sell anti-air missile systems Patriot to Ukraine. We know that Russia has been pounding Ukraine really heavily right now.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there,
Wow.
and
I can see you very, it's amazing.
me with the kids. I'm in Warsaw actually because he wanted me to.
Is your husband a soldier? No?
He's
He's there now?
Yeah.
Wow. That's rough stuff, right? That's tough. And you're living here?
in Warsaw.
What is he? He doesn't want to answer the question, so he's just going to ask her about her life. Like, what's your favorite color now? What's
The missiles, okay, as they call them, the Patriots. And we're going to see if we can make some available.
and KTR is starting to pop off UAP
Yeah,
here.
we were supplying them to Israel, and they're very effective, 100% effective. Hard to believe how effective. And they do want that more than any other thing, as you probably know. That's a very good question, and I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's very upsetting to you. So say hello to your husband, okay? Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you.
You know,
Thank you, Mr.
you
President.
can't make this
you were
thing up, guys.
criticizing-
We
Where are
will
you from?
focus on
Bloomberg
this.
News.
Well, Bloomberg.
Trump
Mhm.
being
you
nice,
were-
saying that he's going to give
You were
Ukraine
criticizing the
access to
Federal
maybe some
Reserve Chair
Patriots.
before coming to this summit.
Yeah, I think
That's
he's-
got to be what a LMT, Lockheed Martin. So that would be a good time to know who
Yeah.
makes those things, right?
Yeah.
Raytheon.
with
Let's
him,
look it up.
34 people.
You know, AI knows that
I mean, he
answer.
goes up pretty
Yeah.
soon, unfortunately, because I think he's terrible. We have no inflation. We have a tremendous economy. Hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money is pouring in. Factories are being built because they don't want to pay the tariffs, so they're building them all over the country. I think we're close to $15 trillion. I told you 5.1 trillion. from
It's
the
searching,
Middle
it's
East alone,
searching.
but
ChatGPT will
of
know the
investment
answer.
money coming in. There's never been anything like that.
It's
in this
Raytheon, RTX.
But we have
RTX
inflation.
not moving that much.
Serves as a
Biden
prime
secretly, make it short-term debt.
contractor. It's
So we have borrowing coming
yeah,
up.
it's
And, you know, we'll go 10
primarily
years,
developed
maybe
by
longer, maybe
Raytheon. It
shorter,
would
but
also
we'll go a
have
long
a
period of time
Lockheed
when we do the
Martin
debt. And because of
fire
him,
control
because of this
that
guy,
produces the interceptor
we
missiles.
will have to
So the
pay
missiles
for years. We'll
are
be paying
Lockheed
for him.
Martin. The
And I
system
said to him, listen,
and the design
there's no
of the
inflation.
radar and
This
command
is- but
control
maybe there'll
systems
be
and
some. Well,
launchers
that's true.
is
Mm.
by
If there
RTX.
is some, what you
And
do
here's
is
a best.
raise the
Here's a
rate.
good
I'm
one.
okay with that. You
Boeing
raise the rate in
supplies the
2 years from now
radar
or a year from now.
components of the PAC-3
But because the rate's
interceptors.
high, we have to pay more for debt.
So it's a combination
It's
of those
pretty
three
equal.
companies.
In other words, if it's
None of those
well,
guys are moving on that, which is surprising.
it's fairly
Well, he only
equal, not
mentioned that he's going to
necessarily,
give a
but fairly
few.
equal.
right?
Oh,
He didn't say that he was going to
Hey,
give an
maybe 2
unlimited
points or 3
as much
points
as they
more.
want to buy,
3
right? That's what the
points would be
question
about
was. And I like the question, right? At least
$900
because
billion
this is a
a
little
year
difference of giving
because
it.
of this
Will you
Yeah.
let us buy it?
very average
Will you
mentally
let
person.
us
He's an average
use the money that
mentally
we're getting
person.
from other
I'd
countries
say low
and go
Mhm.
in
buying
terms
it,
of what he
right?
does. Low. Uh,
That's it's an easier question for him to say yes to, right? Because
Easier question.
You can say, "Oh, look, I just made a business deal just right now."
Exactly. I just made some money, you know.
$900
I'll sell you them,
billion.
but
We don't want
I'm not going to give them
it
to you.
just because he doesn't want to lower the rate. I said, if
Oh,
this
now he's
on
2
POW.
years or
now
3
he's on POW.
from now,
J POW.
great, you take care of the inflation, among other things.
He says if inflation
he's
spikes, who cares?
probably
Bada
a
bing,
very
bada
political
boom.
guy.
You know.
I'm rich. I don't care if inflation goes up.
More, let's go. How
But
about you?
if it does go up, it's going to happen in 2 or 3 years when
Sure,
I'm
so
out
happy
of
with
here.
everything.
And then blame it on the next guy. Right? Just kick past the buck.
I wanted to know
Buy has not. The reason we're talking so much smack, Chad, is the market is literally not going to move until this guy gets off stage. It hasn't done anything.
I do like
Even
that,
Derek
by the way. I think
Thompson,
it's
I haven't
unfair
seen
that
him
they're
all
not
day.
paying.
He said,
Go
"I
ahead.
got to come out now laughing. Let's go, let's go."
I'm going to
Yeah.
directly with Spain. I'm going to do it
I
myself.
see you out there.
They're
You
gonna
still on
pay-
that
they'll pay more money
NKTR
this way.
trade? Let's take a
Yeah,
look.
I was looking at it popped off VWAP pretty nicely there. Held VWAP.
The
Go back
90
to
really
MA was
well.
holding really
all of
well
those
there.
countries that are paying
I was watching
5%.
it off the VWAP there.
Spain's gonna
Oof,
be just
good
about
looking
the only
pattern,
one that's
guys.
not.
Rule of 3.
They were the most hostile
Undercut
toward
there
doing
3
it. I
times
just
to the
doesn't
VWAP.
make
Now
sense to
getting
me.
strong.
Okay,
Let's go, my
all
friend.
right,
Make
Kelly,
that
go ahead.
money. We ain't mad at you.
Yeah,
Here we go.
the nice looking little pop there.
I see you.
We got
I
them all
see you,
today.
Derek.
I like trades like that because you know right where you're wrong too, right? Breaks VWAP,
on the
it's
ground
time to go.
and set $4.
So another
Yeah.
good
Okay,
thing about this
Here,
chart,
again.
and I talk about this all the
and
time, right?
US,
The zones
It's
to
been
get
obliterated.
ads,
Kelly.
right?
It's been
So this
What is your
whole
message then,
area
sir,
you
to
could have
the
been kind of
intelligence
building
community when they
into.
present
You don't need to go
reports?
too
They're
big
not
on this.
disputing the DIA
You're
report,
watching
you're
these
just-
areas, so you
They
can watch it
presented
come
a
back,
report that
right?
wasn't finished.
Now
We're
I'd
talking about
even look
something
for a
that took
move to
place
like 30,
3 days
85
ago.
to hold. As
understand
long
it's
as
a
it holds
report was
above this
done
kind of
So what is
pattern
Wait a
here,
minute.
you're looking good.
They didn't see it. All they can
Mhm.
do is take a guess.
Man,
Now, if you
who's
take a look
who's
at the
interrupting
pictures, and You
Trump?
take a look how it's all black.
Who's
Did
trying
you
to
know
interrupt
the
him?
fire and brimstone is all underground because it's granite and it's all underground. You don't show it. But even there, with all of that being said, the whole area for 75 yards.
Oh, he's
around
trying to say that
the
they
hole
really
where it hit is
destroyed the
black
nuclear
with fire.
facility.
The group that's run by this gentleman, in fact, you may want to talk about it for a second because we're going to issue a report. And I think it's not even a very exciting report at this point. It's been obliterated, totally obliterated. And they did a report, but it was like, if you look at the dates, it's just a few days after it
Understood,
happened.
sir.
So they didn't see it. They said it may be very severe. Go ahead.
Understood. Do you have a message for the intelligence community, though, in terms of unvarnished information getting to you, that it's not?
I don't really have a message. I would say issue the report when you know what happened. I wouldn't say that it could be severe or maybe not. They use the word severe. It could be severe or maybe it's
I'll
not.
tell you one thing, at
Some
least it's
people
getting
like
the day
you
by
picked
because
up and
you're
said,
having a lot of talking.
"Oh, it's not severe."
Mm.
I'll tell you where I should be looking at. Only one word.
Yeah, the
I'm gonna
message
keep it
was
bringing it
probably
up,
wait till
guys.
you know the
When it
answer
comes on
before you get
CNBC and you guys see everybody talking about this stock, please give your boy a shout out one time. AMD, man, this stock just doesn't
Yeah.
want
There's a
to
reason the president
stop.
calls out fake
Yeah, I've seen a lot of technicians
news pilots,
going on about that. The guys that I respect.
air defenders.
Look at that
the skill and the
curve.
courage it took to go
Mhm.
into enemy territory.
And I was
Really
looking at it
bad.
on this
Hours on
flag.
behalf of the American
This flag
people in
was
world
the
to take out a nuclear program.
right. You could see it
Is
here.
beyond what anyone in this
You
audience
know,
can fathom.
created it on
And then the
523.
instinct, the
right?
instinct of
So
CNN,
where was
the instinct of
523?
the New York Times,
Right
is to
here
try to
on
find
this
a way
bottoming day.
to spin it
That's when I created
for
those
their own
lines. That's what
political reasons
it
to
tells
try
you
to
the
hurt
date. I
President
can't be
Trump
lying, right?
or our
Like
country. They don't
we've been
care what the
waiting for
troops
that.
think. They don't care what the world
That's a
thinks.
big
They
breakout.
want to spin it.
All
to
moving
try to make
averages
you look
below,
bad based on a
and like we
leak.
talked about
Of course, we've all
yesterday,
seen
on the
plenty of
top end of the
leakers. And what
Bollinger
do leakers
Band,
do? They have agendas.
and almost
And what do? Do they share
barely
the
pulling
whole
back, right?
information or just the part that they want to
Big
introduce?
expansion there.
And when they introduce that
MACD just crossing.
a preliminary report that's deemed to be
Yeah, that's good look. And the semis hit new highs, right? This still has a lot of room to go to
why is there
get
You-
to new highs, right?
all of the
Expected
evidence
data
of what was
centers
just
to
bombed
grow
by 12,
82%.
30,000
I'm going to
bombs
repeat that.
is buried under a mountain.
devastated and
Like
obliterated.
they
So
have
if
the
you want to make an
numbers too
assessment
in the
of what happened
fundamentals
at
to get them
Fordo,
there.
you better get a big
Mhm.
So
and go
it's
really
just
deep,
more
because
if
Iran's nuclear
AMD
program
outperforms
is
those numbers,
obliterated. And somebody
I think
somewhere is
we
trying to leak
passed
something to
200.
say,
These are
oh,
trades
with
that I think
low
are very
confidence, we
important
think
to
maybe
understand
it's
because
moderate.
these are trades
Those
that
that
could
drop
keep
the
going.
bombs
And I think it has
precisely
something
in
to
the
do
right
with,
place know exactly what
and I'm going
happened
to
when
lower
that
his volume
exploded.
because he's
And you know
just
who else
yelling at
knows?
people.
Iran.
He's just trying to
That's why they
yell
came to the table
that,
right away
that
with
we
a
did a lot.
nuclear
But
capability that has
so
been
like I think it's important to catch
beyond
this
what they thought
AMAT move
possible
and the
to build for
semiconductor
the
equipment
courage
one.
of a commander-in-chief
I'm just
who
looking
told
for
the
ways
truth
to play
despite
it
what the
right.
fake news wants to say.
There's so many like KLAC, right? And you can see how it's been taking off. This has to do with export controls, I think, for China. I think people are betting that we're going to make a deal with China. And not only are we going to make a deal, but we're going to take a step back on the push of the export controls. And that's going to really help these companies really take a lift. NVIDIA can go up with this move. Look how NVIDIA is breaking through highs, right? So many people are being distracted, but the real move is, I think, happening here right underneath our feet, which is a semiconductor run, right? But also the equipment names also getting a big push because of the export controls. Not that many people look at those names, but I'd be keeping an eye on those. You got names like AVGO just ripping through the moon, right? Marvell, I'd be starting to watch to see if this thing can just come right back to the highs. This is a good like kind of look that I'm looking at here. Micron, look
Speaking
how
of new all-time highs, just ticked on Nvidia. So
yeah,
congrats to them.
I was watching for it. I think that's I think what it is now is that some people are like, well, why wouldn't you go for Nvidia, Mitch? Because I think AMD is going to outperform Nvidia. I don't think that Nvidia is not going to go up. I do think Nvidia is going up here. But the performance and the speed of AMD will probably go faster because it's at a better valuation than in Nvidia. As things go higher, they slow down a little bit. I think it still goes higher here, maybe even gets to 200. But I think at this point, I'd be looking for AMD, and I'd use NVIDIA as kind of an indicator. And I keep mentioning it, and I don't feel like too many people are paying attention to AMD. They're going to pay attention to it eventually. We'll keep an eye on that.
All right, in the back. Go ahead.
Yeah, still no movement in the market, right? We got to see him walk off stage. There's a question there about the winners announced. Just go to the Monday stream. We did a whole stream. We announced all the winners. We interviewed the winner, the guy who actually won the contest. He was on here. Really good interview, really good thing to check out. But yeah, that was all the winners were sent an email for all their winning. They got their counts. I was in the top 10. I was sent the email at the same time. So yeah, check that out. Jorge was that's a great interview. We got to get that guy on more. He, just taking base hits. I like traders that are doing that, just taking base hits like he does.
Yeah, I see. I also see you saying that there's another scam from Trade the Pool. Please let us know if there's anything you see as a scam, because I don't think anybody's doing any scamming here, man. So I'll let that comment go through there, and you can keep talking. But like always, please, if you have some evidence or anything, then bring it up. But like always, we do this competition and we gave everyone a prize that was actively trading. So you need to actively trade. There was some conditions that apply, like always, conditions and terms that apply to everything. And at the end of the day, this is a free competition. You didn't pay a single penny for it. And we're giving things away there. If anything, this is a benefit to all the traders out there. So messages like that are not going to really be taken lightly. Why AMD and NVIDIA though? Because new products came out from AMD that are causing a catch up to NVIDIA's products. So remember, what caused the massive rise in NVIDIA? And we'll let the chat. We're going to test the chat here before you guys get out of here. I know Michael knows this. There he is. He's leaving, guys. He's leaving. He's
all right,
out.
Ripper.
He's out.
Look at the spy.
Send it.
Look at the spy.
Send it.
The second dude walks off stage.
Send it.
All right, Ripper. New highs now.
He's not going to say anything negative. He's not going to ruin us. Let's see. Okay. All right. He
Yeah,
didn't. He didn't ruin us. He didn't say anything really negative about the Iran and Israel situation. He said that they destroyed their nuclear facilities. Everything was a positive. He even said, "I'm going to give Ukraine some patriots. Why not?"
sell them. Now the question is JPOW done? Because if JPOW's done, then maybe we can break this this high that we've been dealing with at 608.50.
That run in AMD, man. That run.
Yeah,
It says it all, man. Stay with the heat names. Let's go to those hot names before we get out of here. Really quickly, I'm just gonna go through my scanner here and see what's leading up from the open. Grail, nice little push there. Clean Spark pushing now. AMD, of course, on there. ARM, right back to the highs there. CrowdStrike, Zscaler. So, you know, those cybersecurity names holding well. HIMS is an interesting one if the market's going to go green here. It's pulled back a significant amount. Got up above 46. We'll see what happens on that one. AMAC continuing to climb. Some semi-equipment names. Ethereum, right back up. Liquidity scam in them. Look at that scam. Look at that scam. Wicks are tricks and tricks are for kids, guys. Look where the bodies are closing.
Yeah.
The bodies are closing right back above 53. That wick just washed some people out and now wants to start sending. Quick.
That's why you'll see so many technicians using line charts, right? I get whenever I post a line chart, sometimes I get some pushback on it, but it's right. The close is the most important price, so that's what I want to focus on.
Well, Bitcoin get the run now. This BITO chart looks good for me. We'll see what happens on that, and we'll be talking about that like always. Not a bad one. Not a bad one there. Nice little run here. Any names standing out to you out there right now?
No, just because the market's so range bound,
Yeah.
like it is, I want to see a push through this 608.50. If we can get through that 608.50 zone, then that looks great. But
pushing
then we're still
strong.
range bound. I don't know if maybe now everyone's focusing in on JPOW because Trump's gone, but I don't know if he's done yapping or not.
Apple starting to push back up off that 200. Apple looking good today. Look at that push right there. Apple looking good. That's a 15-minute candle. That's some strength there. I'm looking for software names too. Adobe. Will Adobe come back? You know, everybody started to hate Adobe. All of a sudden, I started seeing that. Like even analysts on CNBC. That's usually when it starts to come back.
Yeah, that's why we don't listen to the news.
Adobe, not a bad looking chart. At least if you go to the deeper time frames, look at the monthlies. Look how they're all lining up down in this area. This 377 area seems to be where you're getting a lot of action, right? So good risk to return, right? If it starts to come back, I've seen this thing do climbs all the time where it drops like this all the way back up, right? So we'll see what happens here on Adobe. Of course, software names. That's where I think the big move, the next move is. I always tell you guys where I think something's going. Software. Oracle has been the tell for this. And look at the monthly chart on Oracle. Look at the strength of that. Right? Like in what? 3 months, this is up 81%. There's a reason why, guys. It's not because Oracle changed the game. They know about AI agents, and they are pushing as strong as they can on AI agents. And AI agents are what's going to be running a lot of software and coding coming from software. I know you're all about that, Michael, and understand that. At the end of the day, I always talked about that there would be an AI 2.0 move. We're seeing part of that right now. It's not just the technology names. It's not just large language models, right? It's what the products that come out of this, right? What the coding that comes out of this, right? Everyone was building for a couple of years with AI. Now the actual revenue driving products are going to start coming out. So keep your eyes on that. Keep your eyes on software. Software, of course, is really profitable, right? Especially now that you're using AI and you're not paying 50,000 developers to do it, right? And so this is where you're going to see an adjustment. And I think the best trades are always what I call fundamental shifts, where something has happened in the story of the stock, where essentially where the stock was valued before no longer makes sense. And you need to almost reevaluate a quality company. Like in this case, if Oracle's really kicking off with AI and all that, you don't understand the fundamentals of how much things cost anymore to produce the software. So all of a sudden the margins could just like exponentially increase, right? And so that change, that quick change of fundamentals is how you get a rocket move like this. And
Well, and
it's thing to talk about for sure.
It's funny. I was talking to a buddy who traded during the dot-com bubble, and he's saying he's seeing all these parallels. Well, in the beginning, it was the computer makers that did well, right? It was IBM and Hewlett Packard and Dell and all these guys. They did great, massive runs. And then what happened was they kind of leveled off because there's only so much. Like hardware is a rough business because you got to build a thing, you got to have factories and staff and raw materials. So then what happened is the real winners of the dot-com bubbles are people who aren't running the factories. It's the software side of things. So that was his kind of idea, is that eventually what he thinks the same thing will happen is that Nvidia will reach a price that will be roughly the price it's in for a long period of time. And then you look at the software winners, the guys who can really scale up what they're doing. And those guys can do phenomenally, right? If Adobe starts being a place where anyone can go in and type something and do a picture, it's great, right? That will just be so these guys could end up being the next and the real explosive winners off of AI because they're the ones that kind of see the net benefit, right? Again, Adobe's hard, right? It's I've played with it a bit. Not my thing, but if I could buy a PowerPoint or something and just like type what I wanted to do, or for Photoshop or for a lot of their video editors,
I mean, Firefly is free still, guys, so you guys can try to test some of their image generation if you don't believe in it. I'll tell you right now, I was even able to help my nephew out. My nephew does like a little business. The guy's in 2nd grade with a business already, Michael.
Good for him.
He did a popsicle stick business, right? And so one of the things is that he was asking me, like, can you help me? And I was like, well, I'll help you, but I'm going to use AI. Like, AI is going to do the heavy lifting. He's like, okay. So he explained to me what he wanted. He was like, I want a penguin logo, and I want him like eating a popsicle, and I want it to have these colors. And I was like, dude, I got you. You are giving me the description to make this happen. Let's go make it happen.
Give me the prompt.
Yeah. Hey, you don't realize it, but you're giving me the outcome here. I'm just going to go and play with it and make it better. And all I needed to do is I gave it the prompt added, like, let's make it like an animation, right? Make it high quality, contrasting, gloss, and boom. Next thing you know, I had a name for the business, Penguin Bites, with a penguin holding a popsicle, and boom. Next thing you know, he was creating his business. And the best part of Firefly, these are copyright free. No need to worry about copyright infringement as long as you're getting it from those Firefly logos and Firefly images. It's free. It's common use there. And I think that's stuff like that is what's great, right? Because then if you make a shirt and then you go and sell it, but then Adobe wants to cut, that's not necessarily what we want in this case, right? So I think it's great, man.
See them suing a 2nd grader.
This guy bought the Titanic Lego set. I don't know if you guys know the Titanic Lego set. It's incredible, man. I can't believe he bought this thing. It's a $680 Lego set. Look at this thing. It's a collectible. It's freaking insane. $680. And how did he do that? His own business. Little 2nd grader saving up $700. Come on, man.
Wow.
I'll tell you one thing. I can't even remember how long it took me to say that I had $700, right?
Yeah, definitely
so
not.
Now he's starting to get into thinking about doing investments, and so I think it's really cool,
Get him on the Farcoin train. Get him yellow Farcoin.
Hey, on the fart coin, I'm gonna tell him you need to get into what's called a meme coin. I'm gonna have to explain that one. That's gonna be fun. Smart kid. Hey, yeah, I'll definitely let him know that he's getting the love out there. Yeah, his parents work really hard with him. I'm really proud, at least to be his uncle. But hey, the kid works hard. He does some really cool stuff, and he does he goes into these there's like a association here that has all these kids do businesses, and then they do little kind of farm setups, just little setups where everyone can go. And the kid's killing it, man. He did a business presentation to this a camp to sell wholesales to them. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna skip selling one by one. I'm going wholesale. I was like, dude, this guy. Watch out, man.
Invest early and get a contract. Get a contract with him.
AMD is pulling back. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm gonna just start making him businesses and just be like, you run it. Here's the money for the investment. SPY is kind of just flirting around with this. It's just a chop. It's just a chop. And the VIX is trying to trap you. At least I trade the VIX all the time. So I can tell you guys, it's trying to get you to go here. I see the VIX do this all the time where it pops to an hourly range and then it's going to give it up probably. So I wouldn't even be surprised that you get a little pop to this 49.16 and then you're right back into that range. I think it's just going to be that day where it's a later in the day trade, or maybe even it does a sideways day, right? We're just getting this small candle here right now, right? And so right now might be the time to sit on the sideline, right? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm trying to look to see if J-Pow's done. I can't see him because right now that we need both these guys to kind of shut up and leave us all alone before we can.
J-Pow, where you at? Where you at, J-Pow?
Because if he's still testifying, then that's another thing. And again, like we talked about earlier, this is very, very common, in which what we're doing is just waiting for these guys to leave, because quite often, no, he's still up there talking.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, so he's up there yapping. But what happens is, again, a lot of large players, they'll just sit and wait. Not that they're trying to trade off of what he's doing, but they're just saying, okay, I want to make sure he doesn't say anything that tanks the market before I really put on some big bets. So, and again, just like yesterday, when he's done, there's probably going to be some trend develop. But like we talked about, right, when J-Pow's talking, when Trump's talking, you don't want to trust any move, either bullish or bearish. You just want to kind of wait and hang out.
UMAC pulling right back down there. I see you mentioned that talk. You looking at UMAC for the downside, and Archer right back down. Yeah, it seemed like those were little bull traps out the gates. They popped and dropped there. So Archer and UMAC pulling back. RCAT coming with it, right? Looks like these are a little bit in correction mode, right? Where they had maybe an ABC move and then starting to pull back there in correction mode. We'll see what happens with those. I'd love to trade on Tesla. Made a mention in the chat there, but yeah, definitely great trade there. And let's keep pushing. And always, you got to love the Legos, man. Legos made a smart move, that Hasbro, when they started doing collectibles with their Legos and limiting, has turned things around. I think in the long run, it's an interesting perspective to look into as it starts to turn things around. If they get good China news, is what's really needed for this company to start maybe making a lift. And maybe AI can help them turn down their design cost, right? And then just turn the business that way, right? Because you have to think that AI is going to help them create some pretty advanced Lego sets, right? They have the data. They're going to put it into their own little AI and start creating Lego sets from there. Hey, who knows? Maybe Hasbro is something we need to look into. Funko, another one. Not a bad mention there. I like that mention. This company took a real dumping because of the tariff situation. But if the tariffs come back off, this could be right back up, right? So we'll see what happens out there, guys. 11 o'clock. Any last words for those traders out there? Michael Nas, fighting the chop today was definitely the theme of the day. We'll take a look. These other days that I say know the lunch spots in New York. Right. The traders go to lunch early. They're like, J-Pow's going to be yapping out there. I'm going to go get an early lunch and dig in lunchtime versus where I normally dig in around this time, right? And around like 10 to 11, a lot of the bigger traders are looking at trades that have established range, then they can trade a little bit better, right?
Yeah, and that will be my closing thought. I agree, is that the afternoon might be interesting. So, right, don't burn yourself out sitting here in the morning. Wait till he leaves, then kind of look for trends to develop once Jay Powell's gone.
Love to hear the collectible talk. Love to hear it all on our show, right? We don't just stick to just stocks here too. We have a good time. I hope you guys are having a good time. And to support us, the number one way you can support us is not only hitting that like, but hit the share button down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, like a lot of you guys are, if you hit that share button, you get a link. You can share this with your stream. You don't need to do it even for today's stream. Do it for our next stream. Right. And if you can keep doing that, we'll grow this family and continue building here. Like always, we do this 100% free. It's like for you guys to learn from our experience as traders, right? So that you guys can go ahead and up your game. We wish you guys the best of luck. Keep trading out there. It ain't easy in this market, but one thing's for certain, we'll be here battling with you. See you next time, team.